It's gonna be a good one. We might get a lot of hate for this, but man, we gonna do it. I know. That's why we got to get into it. He said, "Nah, this title is crazy." Don't worry. Ain't nothing crazy coming from me. I promise y'all. But we got to talk about it. So we got to get talked about because this shit getting out of control. And listen, y'all know me, I'm a real one. If I'm in the space, I'm gonna give y'all a fair stance on it. And I'm gonna keep it 100% real always. Because this shit getting out of hand. Let me get my charger and then we get started. To bring that shit over here because charger piece. All right, let's get it started. I'm gonna do this live and then we'll take some questions. Let's get into it. Then I'll go live on TikTok after because I got to be careful how I do this shit because TikTok will definitely care. I got banned for like 10 days just because I don't know, like I don't know, have some drag queen, some guy dressed in drag have his followers report my shit. So that was corny. But anyway, let's get into this podcast. All right. Damn, I don't even know what podcast number this is. Shit. Maybe 170 something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll double back and check. But this one's going to be a little different. We're not going to play music with this one. We're just going to get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with the LGBTQ. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean I'm coming out the closet. No, because I'm not in the closet. So don't worry about that. I see somebody I'm on live and somebody's like, yo, that title sound crazy. I know y'all seen word. That is not the case. I'm talking about this to address how to deal with it. Now, it doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while, I feel like it's been a lot more lately. Every once in a while, I do get people that hit me up and say, yo, my girl has a gay best friend or has a trans best friend, and I don't know how to deal with it. It's annoying. And when I say I don't agree with it, I had one guy tell me he got into argument because he feels as if the gay best friend is acting inappropriate. Listen, when it comes to those type of things, and if it's detrimental to your relationship, those are reasons to break up with a girl. That's something totally different. Not necessarily what I came here to talk about, but just how to deal with it in general, because I see a lot of it getting crazy. Even myself, I was online and I went in one of these spaces and one of these lives, and they basically they basically said that, people who don't want to date trans people just because they don't want to date trans people, you're considered transphobic. Now, that's mainly what the topic is surrounded by, right? Um, and it was like, well, if you don't support gay marriage, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. Like, listen, and this is what I have to, and this is what I have to talk about, because at this point, these people, they don't want you to have your own rights. You can't even say whatever you want to say. You can't even. So it's like, say for example, on the live today, a guy was like, well, if I don't want to date somebody who is trans, does that make me transphobic? He was like, well, if it's for the sole purpose, and this is what he said, if it's for the sole purpose of dating because they're just trans, yes, that's transphobic. What? But he said, if you're dating straight people simply because you want to have kids or you just want to reproduce, then it's not transphobic. Like, that shit is nuts. It's nuts. Because if you take that logic, it's like, now I just give up my own beliefs. So I've been Muslim for 30 years, going on 31, right? So do I just say, okay, well, I give up my beliefs and I have to agree with same-sex marriage? No, I don't agree with that. And it's nuts to say that just because I don't want to date them and I don't agree with their lifestyle, that I am transphobic, I am homophobic. No. And then you only see this shit in the United States, because this does not rock other places. At least not in public. On the internet, I know it's crazy. The internet, everybody got triggered. They got Twitter fingers on the internet. Everybody's tough on the internet. But it's like, at some point, where do you get off saying that I just give up my rights and beliefs? So am I supposed to say, okay, well, do I just give up all my beliefs to support you guys? Do I say, well, I'm an apostate from my religion, I'm gonna give up all my beliefs because I don't necessarily support it? Now, if we're talking about human rights, I believe that people that are gay should have human rights. You know, people feel as if they're born a certain way. I've done the research. There's no scientific evidence to conclude that somebody's born that way. But one thing that I will say, and this is something that even my religion and Islam would correspond with, people feel a certain way, right? I believe that even if you feel as if you were supposed to be born a woman or you're supposed to be born a man, I don't believe you should act on it, right? I don't believe that you should just go and follow through with it and cut private parts off and start to, just go down that path. That's my personal beliefs. And there are like 2 billion people on earth who agree with me. You could say 3 or 4 if you include every Abrahamic religion, right? And I know people pick and choose of what they want from religion, but I think unanimously people will agree on that part. So somebody's gay, do you treat them like, yes, you treat them like, yeah, I've worked with gay people, I have cousins that are gay, right? And honestly, with my cousins, when I hung out with my cousins, we don't, it's not even a conversation we ever have. Nobody ever really talks about it. It's obvious. It's very clear what they are, right? And everybody knows, they know, but we don't really talk about it. And I don't treat them like not a human being. I remember I was on one of these lives and a girl came up to me. She's like, well, what if a gay person came up to you and asked to use your phone? Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, use my phone. Right? Now, if a gay motherfucker came up to me trying to talk to me, which has happened before, I would say, hey, listen, I'm not gay. I appreciate your admiration, but I'm not gay. So please, let's stop it. Right? Or if somebody was like, if I had a coworker that was gay and they tried to hang out with me, I would say no. Why? Because I don't want to send the wrong message. I don't want to give them the wrong idea. I don't want to give them this idea that okay, maybe he's okay because then, one thing leads to another. I don't want them to think, I don't want them to think that there's hope. I wouldn't do that. And that's how I would conduct myself. By the way, guys, I think this is podcast number 175. We got to get back consistent. Just been training really hard, and it's just like I just got to stay in shape. It's just a lifestyle now. But anyway, um, so if somebody says they want to hang out, I would say no. I don't want to do that. And if they ask me what's the reason, I'm like, well, I just don't want to hang out with you. But in society, is a little different now. It's a little different now because anything that is seen as the opposite, anything that is seen in a different direction of saying that you agree, you're considered homophobic, you have some type of phobia, but I have no type of fear. By definition, right? If we look up the definition, let's look up the definition. Wow, while I'm online, let's look at a phobia. Let's see. So if we look up the definition of a phobia, definition, an extreme or irrational fear or aversion to something, right? So I don't have an extreme or irrational fear of gay people. I don't have an extreme irrational fear of anybody in the LGBTQ. This is a word that is used to an extreme, right? To an extreme, saying, "Oh, you don't support gay rights, then you're homophobic, you're transphobic." No, no, I'm not. I fear nobody. I fear no man. Man, animal, or beast but God. Some shit may look scary, but I don't mean I fear it. An irrational fear is like, people who refuse to get on elevators. If I had a phobia, I'd be like, oh my God, he's gay. Let me not even work. I wouldn't even work a certain place. I wouldn't do a certain job if that were the case. But the point is, it's like now, if you don't stick up for yourself, you're now giving up your beliefs. You're now giving up your beliefs. If you say, well, and a lot of people are scared to even talk about it. They're scared to even talk about it. Well, oh, well, you don't support gays. Not really. I don't. That's not because I'm not gay, and I have a belief. I have a belief system that is practiced also by 2 other billion people, which I say my purpose of life. That is not something I support, right? That doesn't mean you can't be gay and also have a religion. Like, there's gay people that are Muslim, but it's the act of it. If somebody says, well, if you act on it, that's not permissible. And if I have those beliefs, I'm not going to support that. That doesn't mean we can't coexist as human beings. That doesn't mean we can't interact. That doesn't mean I can't have an appropriate relationship with that person. What does that mean? If I hello, hi, bye, how you doing? Decent conversation, work stuff, whatever the case may be. But that does not mean that I'm homophobic or transphobic, because now I am giving up my rights and I'm giving up my beliefs and I'm giving up everything that I stand for. And one thing that I've seen is an influx of people that are, I guess, belong to the LGBTQ and asking for advice. And when I turn them away, or if I have my system turn them away because I don't talk to them directly, they'd be like, oh, he must be homophobic. No, he's not. He just doesn't give advice to people that are considered gay. And then it got real tricky. There was this one person who is trans. So I guess biologically, um, it's it's a woman. And this gets really confusing. So biologically, it's a woman, but she transitioned to a man. So she's a man now, and she was asking for advice about other women. And she stated that. And I'm just like, yeah, nah, tell him I can't help him because I just feel like your biological makeup. Because there's, as if you watch my channel, if you know my stuff, you know that there are certain things that women do. Women are emotional. Women do certain things. Women are just. So I just feel like that's not even a realm I want to get into. But now I'm being called transphobic because I refuse to give that advice. you know and like they have this thing where you're called a cisgender. Now I know a lot of people don't even know what that is. So apparently cisgender, I guess by definition it means something else. But according to the LGBT or that whole community, cisgender is basically anyone that is not a transgender. So you can be a male and be a cisgender, you can be a woman and be a cisgender, right? But when I say that, I don't want to be called a fucking cisgender. Don't call me that, right? And they, wow, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. No, I'm not. I just simply don't want to be called that, right? And it's like I remember being on live and having a debate with this one guy who I guess is I don't know if he's trans, I don't know if he's a drag queen. He's like, well, trans people don't like to be called biological men if they're trying to be a woman. I'm like, okay, well, just like you want your rights to be respected, I don't want to be called cis. Like, oh, wow, what's your problem with that? Well, one, if I just simply don't want to be called it, that's all I have to say, period. Right? Because if you're opposed to that, then you're basically being a hypocrite because it's like, why would you say that you want to be, you're fighting to be called something? You want to identify as whatever you want to identify, man, woman, she, he, whatever it is, right? You want that to be respected. So respect me. And they refuse to do it. It's like you can't even compromise. Well, you shouldn't compromise on your beliefs anyway, but you can't even have a cordial conversation without it getting belligerent and unreasonable. So if I say I don't want to be called cis, and then on top of that, when you say cis, it sounds like sissy. Now, a lot of younger generation might not be familiar with the term, but a sissy, you call somebody a sissy, is like you're a punk. But if you go a little further back, like early 1990s, 80s, and all before that, a sissy was a term for somebody who was gay, you know? So, and even other gay people call gay people sissies. Like I've seen it. I've seen it. So, I mean, and that's the problem. So it's like, how do you have a discord with these people? How do you have a conversation with these people? How do you have anything with these people? And it's like I can't stick up and stand up for my rights if I don't want to be called this, I don't want to be called that, right? So I just give up my beliefs and say, well, because you're LGBTQ and you guys want support, then right. And recently, I think that there was some laws passed in the United States that said that they can't be in public bathrooms with trans men can be in public bathrooms because there was a little girl was in a bathroom Walmart. You can research it. That was assaulted by a trans man. I think sexually assaulted, and he's a trans man assaulted a little girl. So, and then people were on the internet, and I'm going to these lives, and they're like, "Well, um, why do you why are you even in this space?" Well, if you guys are fighting for rights, you need to have a discussion. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying you should be unalived. I'm not saying that you should be, you know, I'm not saying any of these things. All I'm saying is, I don't support it. I'll give you casual conversation. I'll treat you like a human being. I feel like all human beings have human rights, right? But it's not something I'm going to support. It's not something that's ever going to be supported. And I have my own beliefs that I need to stand up for and fight for, right? These are things that I'm willing to die for. So, if that's the case, why do I now have to support it? It's like, and it's just, it does not make sense. And my point in saying all of this is for people to understand that if you have a certain belief and somebody says, well, do you support gay rights? Do you support this? Well, not really. Why? Because I have a belief, right? And then they'll say, well, God isn't real. Like, shut up. Stop with the nonsense, right? Stop. Even if you think that's the case, I still have my beliefs. And it's not something that I support. It's not something that I ever will support. But we can be cordial. You can have cordial conversations, and you can't force people to accept it. And if you look around the world, it's even worse because this shit only rocks in America. I think it was in Sudan. It was a chess tournament, and a kid dressed up in hijab, niqab, and wore a long black dress like a woman. And he wanted to win a females tournament. I guess he did win, or he was winning, but they caught on to him and realized that he was a dude. And he just simply apologized and said, "I was wrong and I'm sorry," and went about it. You do that shit in the United States, he'd be like, "Oh, I identify as a woman." And then he would have won the tournament. He would have been the number one chess player in Sudan if we had the logic that was here. But no, they don't do that. That's only here. Some people overseas don't even know what a transgender is. I was looking at this Vice documentary, and they were and I think it was Iraq or Iran, one of these Islamic countries, and they were literally throwing people off buildings, throwing them off buildings because it was suspected that they were gay. Now, is that un-Islamic? Probably, because I know according to Sharia law, you have to like witnesses. It had to be witnesses by like one or three people or some craziness like that in order for them to be like for that to happen. In Uganda, they have a democracy, and the people voted that if you're part of the LGBTQ, you either be arrested, and I think in certain cases unalived. Yeah, put to death. So, and you look in the United States, it ain't even like that. They was like, if you ain't accepting us, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, you can't even have your own rights. F your beliefs. Like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. There's no compromise. It's like, no, if you don't accept us, then you're against us. You can't even have your own rights. You can't even stand for what you want to stand for. Now, this is the first and last probably podcast that I'll do on a topic like this. And only because it's not something that I want to continue to go over and over. I know it's things that guys have questions for. And remember, the purpose of my channel is for men to be men. And as a man, you have to stand up for your rights. Only weak men will never say anything. Only the weak men will never do anything. If you know you have rights, you can stick up for your rights. It doesn't have to turn into an argument. It doesn't have to get belligerent. You don't have to like fight people. Of course, you should always defend yourself, right? But if you have rights, you have to stick up for your rights under any circumstances. And you should always, and you should push it. And you can be respectful about it. Somebody says, "Oh, you support the LGBT?" No, not really. I mean, I have my own beliefs. I mean, I wouldn't treat them like animals. They're still human beings. I can still be cordial. We can still coexist because this is the law of the land. The law of the land says that's okay. Well, that's the law of the land, but it's not my personal beliefs, right? So if you have your own personal beliefs, you should stick up for them, and you should be able to assert your own beliefs, right? So anyway, guys, I'm gonna end this podcast off here. I'm gonna go live, and we're gonna have a Discord. We're gonna have a conversation. And if you're on live here, you should try to listen to it. It gets crazy. It gets crazy. And to hear the logic, I just want people to hear the logic when it comes to it, that like how crazy it actually sounds when people try to defend this, and the position that and what I put on it, I was like, trans people are heterophobic, right? And the reason I put that was because it's like, it's like if I don't agree, I'm automatically homophobic or transphobic. Like, how is that even possible? And if you go into some of these live spaces on TikTok, it's like you can't even speak, you can't even talk. They don't allow you to speak. You automatically get kicked. It's nuts. But so we're gonna go live. I'm live on TikTok now. We're gonna take some questions. And I just go and the only reason I'm doing this live because I just want people to hear it. Like I just want people to hear the logic. It like never fails. It never fails. But anyway, guys, we're gonna get back to the regular podcast. We're gonna get back to doing, and I know a lot of people are scared to get in this topic, but I'm not. I'm really not. Because if I have a belief, I have a belief. I'm not infringing upon yours, but now my beliefs are starting to be infringed upon. But if you're on live, you can join on TikTok. I'm on TikTok now, and probably be on for like an hour or two. I won't stay on too long. And we're just gonna get into this Discord. We're gonna have a little conversation, see what it's all about. Should be interesting. People are gonna start joining. This is like a TikTok thing. I feel like I would only do this on TikTok, but we're gonna get back to the podcast topics. But if you guys are in the comments on YouTube, drop some topics that you guys would like for me to talk about. Should be interesting. Is anybody watching that game? Who's winning that game? The Knicks versus the Heat. Okay, Kevin Love. I just need Kevin Love to score 7.5. Jimmy Butler got 17 points. Yo, when is the Fisherman's website going back? I'll put it back up right now, actually. I just got to reconnect it. What you was trying to cop, man? If you're ever trying to buy something and the website is like having some trouble, you could always just message my assistant and then we can get that back up for you. Based. Yo, when people say based, what does that mean? I'm sorry, I've never I never understood that one. We are not transformers. You cannot be. It is deception, though. It is deception. Thank you. Appreciate it. I just brought the hat because I wanted to match one of my outfits. Trans people hate people who are not trans. It's like me confused. How you doing? What's your name? Where you from?
You said what?
I said, how you doing? What's your name? Where you from?
I'm cool. I'm from Virginia.
Okay. VA in the house. What's good, though? What you got to talk about?
I got a question. So, how are trans people heterophobic?
So, one, it's kind of sort of clickbait, but by the same definition that they call everybody transphobic, like early on today, I was called transphobic because I said that I wouldn't date, I wouldn't marry, I wouldn't have any type of sexual relationship with somebody who's trans. And the person said, well, is it because you want to have kids or is it just because they're trans? And I said, yeah, just because they're trans. I don't want to have a relationship. It goes against my beliefs and it's just not something I want. And I was called transphobic. In another sense, I was called transphobic because because I said I don't support gay rights or marriage. And it was like, well, that's messed up. They should be treated like humans. And I agree. They should be treated like humans. If somebody that was gay came up to me and asked me for water, asked for food, even if they were hungry, wanted a meal, asked to use my phone, I would give them that. But I have my own beliefs. And do I now give up my beliefs? I have no phobia of anything. So it seems to me that since trans people are keeping this narrative because I disagree, I'm transphobic, I think that they are heterophobic. You understand where I'm coming from?
So it's just like anecdotal testimony, basically.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that.
Okay, so like for one, I don't really see how that correlates to like heterophobia. Like I can see that as like trans people being misinformed about the definition of transphobia, and like they're like spreading misinformation. I understand that, but I don't see how that would translate to them being heterophobic in a sense.
Well, yeah, the topic is I admit it is a bit clickbaity, but it is a conversation to be had. So is it 100% or all trans people heterophobic? No. But in these spaces online, this is the narrative, So it's like, well, I'm transphobic because I just simply disagree with your lifestyle. That doesn't mean I'm going to treat you differently. But do I now, like, what is the case? Are you heterophobic now? It's like by that logic. You understand what I'm saying? Using the logic that some of these people that I've interacted have been using, I guess they would be heterophobic too. Does that make sense or no?
I mean, it does, but at the same time, like, I don't agree.
That's fine. That's fine. You don't have to agree, but you just said by their logic, it does make sense. And that's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were talking like statistics, like I thought like a more objective view on it. But
Well, yeah, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything quantitative that I can go off to say that all trans people are heterophobic. No, I don't think that's a technical. I don't have that data, but I'm just talking. Well, if you look at the other points, it's like, I don't want to be called cisgender. Straight people don't want to be called cisgender, or do I now give up my beliefs to cater to gay rights? It's stuff like that. It's like I don't do.
There's like a huge difference between being like treating someone who is like a gay or trans or whatever less than human and not supporting it. So a huge difference.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of informing people about like what transphobia is and what it's colloquially known as, rather than just like, oh, I don't support this. Like, it's two very different things.
It's just simple, but that's not the narrative. And if you go into some of these spaces and like try to go into some of these lives where they talk about these topics, you'll see that this is their logic. It's not even like reasonable. It's just, I feel like I have a very fair balance, but it's just very simple. It's just, I don't want to be called this. I don't want to be called that. And it, just I feel like it's very, very reasonable, my stance. How you doing? What's your name? Where you from?
Hey, this is Tots Down. I'm from everywhere, currently in Kentucky.
Okay, Kentucky in the house. What do you like? What would you have to say on this topic?
Now, I'm so glad you have this topic because I did a post on my page that, hey, why can't I just be called a woman? Why do you have to say I'm a cis woman? Why can't I just be a woman? And I caught so much backlash from the community. It's like, oh, you must be homophobic. You must be this. And I don't understand, because I remember way back in the day when trans people, the word trans was not being used. They wanted to be called woman. We called them woman with no issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was people that would say, well, you can't be a woman because you still have male parts. And it's kind of like now the reverse is going on. And I just don't get it. If someone says, I don't want to be called that, I don't care if it's in the dictionary, just call me a woman. So when I did a post today to say, okay, well, if I use the word transvestite, that's considered to be
a slur.
A slur, but it's in the dictionary. And this is what you guys say.
Hold on. No, let her finish. We got to have respectful discord here. Listen, this is the rules. Maybe I'll just put it in the next time. But when somebody's talking, just let them finish, and then we just want to have respectful conversation. So let the sister finish speaking, and then you can make your commentary after.
And I was really just trying to. I can't say because it's in the dictionary, and this is what you are. You need to go by it. On the flip side, you want to say, okay, this is in the dictionary, but this is disrespectful to us. Don't use it. Like, why can't we have the same respect that we give to the community? I don't understand that.
Exactly. And that was one of the things that I had a problem with. It was just like, well, I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't be treated like humans. I'm not saying that you guys should be unalived, because if you go in other countries, this is not a thing. It is not the thing. And they don't even have half the rights that they do here. But it's like, I'm just saying, don't call me that. And it's just like they want to identify as whatever they want to identify, and they want to be respected and called that. Cool. Just don't call me a cis. It sounds like sissy. And you seem to be a little older. So just by listening to some of the terminology, you say back in the day, if somebody called you a sissy, that was usually like a negative connotation, or somebody maybe thought that you were a homosexual. So I don't want to be called anything that sounds like cis or sissy. I don't want to be called any of those things. But it's like, why is that so hard to respect now?
Exactly. And that's what it's like. Okay, if you're on this side of the fence, respect our rules. But if you're on the other side, go by whatever we decide to call you. And it's like, you can't have it both ways. So if I need to stand up for my rights as a heterosexual female that wants to be called a woman, then damn it, we about to go for it, because I'm not going for it.
Exactly.
Could I interject?
Hold on. I think Manji wanted to say something, and then you can speak, but you'll introduce yourself after that. But let him say what he had to say.
I just wanted to add on to what she was saying. Like, the people who say that you can't be a woman because you have such and such parts, I guarantee you, not a single one of them can tell you the difference between what sex and gender is. Because like, a woman is a gender, a female is what you're referring to. A gender is just a social construct. Like, you can call yourself whatever you want. Like,
But you
Because
can't have
again, like
one without the other, though.
say again.
You can't have one without the other.
What's your point?
The point is gender roles, they mean something. I don't think that's necessary. It's biology, right? If you can't have sex without gender, then how can you just identify as anything that you want? Because at some point your biology comes into effect, especially if you're talking health in a lot of different instances.
Okay. So again, like, see, like you're just kind of proving my point. What you're referring to is sex, because like, if I like, let's say, like, I'm a man, like I call myself a man, but let's say I want to call myself a female, right? I mean, I just want to call myself a woman, like the gender roles. I'm still biologically a man. Like, my sex is still a man. If I lay with another woman and like I can have kids, I can do whatever. That's fine. Like, I can still do that. That's just my gender. That's just me calling myself something else. Like, are you aware of like what a social construct is?
I know what a social construct is.
Yeah. So it's like that's not something set in stone. Like, that's something like it's like interchangeable. But if I'm a man just calling myself a woman, then who's that going to actually hurt? You are only as you were born. This is such a stupid like logic, I feel like.
But I feel you can call yourself a woman if you want, and we can respect that and call you a woman. But if we are saying, hey, don't refer to me as a cis woman, just call me a woman, why can't that same respect be reciprocated?
Oh no, I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that respect shouldn't be reciprocated. I'm just saying that I was pointing out to the fact that like the people who can't point out difference between what's called gender, sex, and also karma. I'm not saying that we are social constructs. I'm saying the labels are. We are not social constructs. We're something that exists. Like, please don't straddle me.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think that what you're missing is somebody who is a biological woman is not going to have the same respect as somebody who identifies as a woman, and I think that's pretty unanimous around the world.
You're not going to get the same respect.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, sure. No, of course I know. Because like I don't know why, but like, you know,
Yeah.
respect is something that's not.
So you don't really disagree. You shadowboxing right now. You punch in the air.
I'm not saying that. Right?
Okay, let the last person that came on speak. How you doing? What's your name? Where you from? I can't really see your username.
Hi, I'm Clara. I'm from Atlanta.
Okay, Atlanta in the house. What's going on? What you got to say on the topic?
Okay, I feel like I wanted to make the distinction. So what she was talking about earlier was like, oh, why can't I just be called a woman instead of a cis woman? So the prefixes cis and trans, like I learned about, like I was introduced to those terms initially in chemistry. So there's cis and trans isomers. So cis just means same. Trans just means opposite, different. So if you're usually the terms cisgender and transgender are used like as relational terms. If you want to make a distinction between two things, so if you have two women in a room, one is trans and one is cis, and you're describing something that like makes that pertinent, like it matters. That's usually when those terms are used. So nobody's usually like seeing someone walking around the street and being like, "Oh, she's cis." Like it's a descriptor. If you're talking about like trans rights or like a situation that like makes someone's transes or non-transes or cisness pertinent, that's usually when those are used. So is this like a protest of just the concept of discussing transes and trans rights and trans people, or like are you feeling like
well
censored?
Well, the point is it doesn't matter what the definition is. I understand that usually when you talk in those spaces, that is how it's used. But if somebody can fight, if people are fighting for their rights to say, well, hey, I'm a woman and it's disrespectful because I've been kicked. Matter of fact, I've been kicked off lives because I use the word dude or bro. I'll like say if I'm having a conversation with my girl and be like, bro, did you see what the hell just happened? Or dude, like, come on, dude, stop. You know, and it's not something done deliberately. It's not something said to offend, right? But if I said that in one of these spaces, they will get upset They will, and like literally, this was what happened. It was a guy, I guess he was a trans man. I'm not really sure, but he misquoted what I said, and I said, "Bro, that is not what I said." And he's like, "Hey," they were like, "Hey," it was like a people full of people on the panel, and they were like, "Hey, don't call her that. That is not what she identified." And I was like, "Oh, it was an accident. Relax." And I made the mistake again, and they thought I was doing it deliberately, so I got kicked out and was called all types of transphobic, homophobic. I was called all types of negative connotations, right? Because I didn't call somebody what they wanted to be called. Now, if I say, with all that being said, and if I say I don't want to be called a cisgender, I could give two damns about the definition. I don't care what it said. I don't care about any of that. I just don't want to be called that. Why am I not now respected in that same sense that you want to be respected? Because it's a clear indication of hypocrisy. And
Okay, I would disagree that it's hypocrisy because
what?
Because calling someone cisgender is like, you're saying you just don't want, like, if I was talking to somebody, I was like, I don't want you to acknowledge the fact that I'm a cis woman. I said, I don't want you to acknowledge the fact that I'm a woman. I'm just a person. Don't call me a woman. Like,
no, we're asking called a woman instead of a cis woman. So
right, I understand what you're saying, but
okay.
Hold on, let her finish.
So, or let me use a different example. I'm a Black woman. So let's say I'm in a space where there's a bunch of women, and I say, don't call me a Black woman. Don't refer to me as a Black woman. I am a Black woman. The distinction that person that you're talking to, if they were like trans and you use the opposite like pronouns or opposite signifier for like what they are saying that they are, while you were probably like, were you on there like contesting like in opposition to their consensus?
I was.
So that is like, I mean, that's a common situation when people say use dude and bro as like a unisex term for everybody. But if you're in a specific situation where you're contesting like transness, or like they feel as though you're contesting trans rights, it makes sense as to why somebody would think that you are like saying that to disrespect them. But also when it comes to cisgender, cis woman, you are not contesting the fact that you are like, you identify with the gender that was assigned to you at birth. Like, are you like, is your sex male?
Yes.
Like, were you born male?
Absolutely.
And then you
hold on. Let her finish. We're not cutting off. Let her finish.
So you might not want to use the word. So cisgender is just a scientific term for somebody like you. So you might not want to acknowledge that scientific term, but that's different than you like not wanting to acknowledge someone's gender identity. Like, it's not like me calling you cisgender would be me like dismissing or ignoring something that's the truth of your reality. Like, that is what you are.
Okay, let me interject for a second. Now, I wasn't failing to call them what they wanted to be called. That wasn't the case. I'm giving you an example of how I just say bro. Like I told you, if I'm speaking to my girl and I'm like, bro, did you see what the hell happened? Obviously, I know she's not a man, right? I'm a heterosexual man. I know that. But my point is, it's a respect thing. If they just simply want to be called something, whether you don't even have to be by their sex, it's just the simple respect to say, hey, if we're having a Discord or we're having a conversation, I will give you the same mutual respect that you give me. If I don't want to be called a cis, I don't like how it sounds. I don't care what I've looked up the word. I understand the etymology of it. I understand it's a Latin word. I don't care. I just simply don't want to be called that. So it's as a respect thing. If we're having a Discord, and these people in that community, they want rights. They are fighting for rights. So I think it would behoove them, if you want to have a serious conversation, to just simply respect me, right? If they say, well, you're a cisgender man, I'm like, hey, just little FYI, I don't want to be called that. I don't feel comfortable called that. And they insist now and then start to call me transphobic, homophobic. Do you not see the issue with that as just a simple respect thing?
If they're calling you transphobic or heterophobic for not
homophobic, yeah, whatever any type of phobia.
That's the first thing they jump to. Oh, you must be homophobic. Oh, you must use trans as a slur. It's like, no, I just want to be called woman. I just want to be called
Yeah, I don't understand. It's trying to marginalize us. They want us to have two separate brackets from real women and trans women. They don't like being called trans women no more. That's the issue. That's what this came about. Does it? Can I say, like, okay, somebody who isn't a trans woman, I don't want to speak for like their community and their like reality, but as somebody who also is like, if you want to say marginalized, if you want to say part of like a community that is oppressed, I know a lot of you guys are also like, you know, the color, people of color. Do you guys not identify with the position of like dog whistling? Like the position of somebody saying, like, you saying, oh, I don't want to be cisgender. Are you saying the term like real women?
No.
My disconnect here is no, they're trying to. So it's marginalized, especially on TikTok.
Hold on. Let her finish. When you're done, hold on. When you're done, just say you're done, so then people know it's okay to engage with you. Okay.
Okay. So my disconnect here is how, if you're saying, oh, cisgender, I don't want to be called cisgender, you're saying the term real woman. So the implications of the term real woman is that like there are fake women, that trans women are fake women. So the distinction transgenderism. So gender meaning like gender is just, it's social. There's certain societies like that have 3 genders right now. You have 3 legal genders. There's certain society, ancient Hawaii had 3 legal genders. Like there are certain societies where like what we consider feminine, like skirts, heels, they're masculine. Like 18th century England, like gender and sex. Like sex is just like your chromosomes, your like body, your anatomy. They're different. So if you're gonna say real women and fake women, like, do you understand like how that could be a dog whistle to somebody who is marginalized in that way? Hey, what are you? What do you identify as? I'm a cis woman, so my pronouns are she, her. So you're a she, her, and you identify as a woman, right? Yes, I'm a cis woman. Cis woman.
So basically a cis, apparently, so I have to like educate a lot of people because a lot of people don't know either. A cis woman is basically anyone that is not a transgender.
And can I just add, because I don't know how old everyone on the panel is.
I'm so annoyed. I feel like,
hold on, one at a time. Let her speak. What did you say now? You said what?
I understand what she's saying, but I'm gonna just give you guys some history, and this is why I'm kind of standing my ground on this whole issue. I recall how I learned pronouns when I was in elementary school. How pronouns are just wanting to be labeled. Now, okay, that's fine. So it was like, oh, you need a pronoun. It's okay, my pronoun is we. That's my pronoun. But when people started saying, oh, that's a trans woman or a tranny, which is a slur, saying tranny is a slur, it became an issue. So then they started saying, okay, that's a trans woman. Well, back in those days, trans women did not want to be called trans women. They did not want people to know that they were trans. They wanted to be called a woman. So most people would respect that and just call them a woman. So this whole cisgender thing, in my opinion, came across because, okay, if I'm a trans woman and I can't just be called a woman, you can't be called a woman either. So now I'm going to call you a cis woman. And that's why it's so relevant now that so many women are saying, hey, why can't I just be called a woman? So that's the whole root of this issue. So even within the community, people are like, hey, if this is what they want to be called, respect that. But then you have other people in the community saying, well, no, this is this woman. It's in the dictionary. And the whole argument is, if we can give the respect that is being requested, why can it not be reciprocated? So if we now need to go and fight for our rights as straight women, straight men, cis women, cis men, whatever you want to say, okay, if you can't respect the fact that I want to be called a woman, if you're a trans woman, now I need to say trans woman. I've never called a trans woman a trans woman. I just say woman. I respect the pronouns. She, he, him, whatever your pronouns are. So the real issue is, why can't that be reciprocated outside of the community?
I would say it's pertinent, like, when you see somebody walking down the street, you're not like, oh, that's a cis woman, that's a trans woman. But it's pretty like right now, I introduce myself as a cis woman when someone asks because we're in a forum, like a conversation about cisness versus transness. And I feel like because you said your experience is that like trans women don't want to be identified as women, and like why now it's like the terminology trans versus cis. Well, okay, you said earlier that like before, like they were saying, like
in the 80s, they did not want to be called a trans woman. They wanted to be identified as a woman.
Yes, and this a lot of the like the more prevalence of the terminology trans versus cis is because in the 80s, if you're a trans woman, whether or not somebody knows you're a trans woman or thinks you're a cis woman, that determines your safety. So now it's more common, like we're able to have more conversations about trans versus cis because although they are still in like a lot of bodily, like physical danger, depending on where they're at, like they are able more to like speak about the issues in their community, like on a larger scale, on a more mainstream scale, without worrying about like danger, like physical bodily danger as much.
But do you understand what she's saying? If we put it in the most simple way, in the most rudimentary way, if somebody simply says, if they don't know anything about this, right? You find a stranger on the street, or whether you're in a Discord, they join the conversation and they have a commentary, they want to say something, and they simply say, hey, you call them a cis man, cis, whatever the case may be, and they say, hey, I'd appreciate it for the duration of this conversation. You don't call me that. Why is that so hard to understand?
I have to be honest with you. This is a non-issue. Like it's not an issue to me. Like
for my purview. But what about for other people?
I would just love to lose my sentence. So it's not, from my perspective, it's not an issue. It's similar to like conversations around anti-racism and racism in America. So if I were to like, if we're started a thing and we're saying, we were started like a dialogue as a country, and we're saying like against microaggressions per se, and we're like, oh, I don't like it when my white coworkers say something to me like some prevalent microaggression, and they were to say, I'm not white, like I don't see color, there is no color, like don't call me white, I like it's disrespectful for you to call me white. It's like, yes, okay, they can ask that. But like they can ask that, but like that is just deflection. That is just like a dog whistle in order to like evade the actual like meat of the conversation, which is that there's injustice here.
I just want to say, please don't compare this to
it's the same
like
thing.
Racism. Please,
it's similar.
It's like it's not similar at all. Like that's driving me nuts.
This is how these people are born.
Well, wait, hold on, stop. Pause. All right, hold on, guys, hold on. You can speak right after me. I just want to interject. Well, first of all, there's nothing amongst the scientific community. There have been no studies done to say that someone is born a certain way. Now, one thing that I can acknowledge, right? I can acknowledge that if someone feels that they are born a certain way, if someone feels as if they are identifying in a certain way, okay, you can respect that. I can respect that. But the point is, my race and how I'm born, this is chosen. At the end of the day, if someone is a trans or they identify as something else, that is a decision they have to make, and they have to make a lot of effort. They have to do a lot to go and be and identify that. They have to do a lot of surgery. They have to do a lot of gender affirming care, whatever the case may be. They have to take hormones. Me and my skin color, I don't. There's effortless. I don't have to do anything. I don't take any pills. I don't have to do anything to do this. Now, I'm not saying that you can't feel a certain way. It's my personal beliefs if I say I don't think you should act on it. But to say that people are born a certain way, you can't conclude that. There's nothing that backs that up 100%.
Okay, so what you said, that actually isn't true. What you said, that there's no scientific gender dysphoria actually is a scientific
gender dysphoria. What you just said, that people are born that way. There's a difference. Right,
so I will explain this to you. So it is a scientific phenomenon. Is this under?
You got 30 seconds.
It's a disorder.
Okay.
Hold on. You got, say what you have to say. You got 30 seconds. I don't want you to monologue. 30 seconds. Say what you have to say. Hold on. This hold on. Say what you have to say, and then she can speak.
MRI mapping that confirms that trans women, the brain of trans women, and the brain of cis women, the brain of a trans woman is more similar to the brain of a cis woman than it is.
Hold on, let her speak. Continue.
So when it comes to people who like they spend their inclinations are their inclinations, the same way you like the things in your life that are traditionally masked. As far as socially, when it comes to the gender of our specific society, are your natural inclinations. So if they weren't, if they were all the opposite of that, then that means you choose either living a life of misery. Every single thing you do is a lie. Every single thing is an act of being.
All right. That's your time. That's your time. That's hold on. Now, like I said, gender. What you said was people are born this way, right? Like I'm born with my biological sex. I'm born with my skin being brown, right? I'm born this way. Gender dysphoria is according to the I think it's DMS-5. I think that's considered a mental disorder, right? How people diagnose people with mental disorders, that's what that is. So that's different. And even if you say you feel that way, even say you feel like, oh, I feel like I'm this, that's not what you were born by definition, right?
Right,
so
if you're saying it's a mental disorder, which I would like to look into that, but like, okay, if you want to
research it,
hold on, but hold on. What I'm saying is, what you initially said, that this is something they're born with, and you compared it to race. That's where you went wrong. If you were born, if you were born biologically as a male, man, however you want to say it, right? And I'm saying I'm born black, and I am like clearly, and that person now wants to be a woman, and they're born as that is not the same thing.
Okay, I was making a comparison on the basis of social marginalization. I'm not saying race.
Well, that's what she was referring to when she said that. She was referring to, yeah, that's not the same.
Right. So I'm not saying that they're the exact same thing, but when
okay.
I said innate, the reason I said that they are innate is because, like I was saying, what comes natural to you is the conversation. I don't mean trans women like naturally have female bodily characteristics.
Okay, but that's I get it, and that's what we were saying. It's not the same. So when you try to compare it to race, that's not what we're saying. But Shauna, you wanted to speak because you've been trying to speak. I apologize, and you didn't get the chance to speak, so I'll let you say what you wanted to say.
Yes, like the whole issue is a mental disorder. So like when they come in here and say it's not, it makes us look bad. Oh, we're bigots, we're this, we're that. Like, stop. I got a headache from this. I've been dealing with this all morning, and I like try to be nice. Even the guy Art that I was talking to, he's one of y'all people y'all pay. He's like, oh, like, do you have a mental issue? No, I know who you are. He's like, he said he had to say for himself why he's doing it. He's a heterosexual male that says, oh, I'm doing this for my family. Like, he's trying, like, this whole TikTok stuff is ridiculous. And I'm over it.
Yeah.
I work for the government. So it's like, I'm over it.
I can agree. I can agree that a lot of these things that we're talking about on here are usually only on the internet. In my everyday experience, people are not speaking, people are not talking like this, people are not running into these issues, you know. So
they're going for your children. That's the sad part. My daughter, I have an 8-year-old daughter, tells me everything. I see everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going for your children. It's not us. Like all this TikTok stuff is nothing.
Yeah.
They going for our children.
Yeah.
And sorry to come off so blunt, but it is what it is. Like, that's why I do it. Like, I don't have to do. I have a clearance and everything by the government. I don't have to do this.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I want to be up here and speak on it and let it be seen and let it be known.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of you. Like, that's why I follow you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You're witchy. I'm not sure what's your name. Your username is pretty long. What's your name? Where you from?
Y'all can just call me Hayden.
Where you from?
I'm from Cali. I'm a trans male, pronouns he, him.
Okay, and what do you have to say on the topic?
Well, I kept on hearing stuff about biological stuff
Mm-hmm.
down the chat and up here,
Mm-hmm.
and and how being trans is a choice. I mean, y'all are right, but you're also wrong. Yes, it is a choice to follow through with everything.
You cut out. Hello? You cut out heavy. We didn't hear anything you said for the past 10 seconds.
Is that better?
A lot better. Now start. Well, the last thing I heard you say was we were right and we were wrong. So can you reiterate what you were saying?
I'm sorry?
I said, can you reiterate what you were saying? You said that we were right and we were wrong at the same time.
Like trans people can be born trans from conception. When I first found out I was trans, I did have to read books on transgenderism and the safety measures I'd have to take and all the health risks that I would also have to take if I were to go on testosterone or take any surgeries. And I did notice one part where it showed how transgenderism begins. And I learned that when the baby is conceived, I guess first conceived.
And what did it say about that?
Sperm goes. If extra sperm were to affect the egg, that could affect the genetic makeup of the baby's brain. So if excess testosterone enters to the embryo, that can cause the baby to form a male brain but have a female body. Same goes for estrogen, which is why some women have broader shoulders and more masculine features at times, though sometimes it can just affect the brain. Mine affected my brain and how I became who I am today. Though it also affects mental health, especially from a very young age.
Oh, the last thing that that we were saying about people following through when she tried to compare it to race, as far as me being the skin color that I am, me being biological and following through, that's where the disconnect came and that's where we disagreed. Now, as far as people being born, I feel like that's a nature versus nurture thing. I personally don't believe that people are born. I feel like children aren't known. Children don't really have an idea of sex. I feel like you don't even need, I think you can use basic logic for that. A child doesn't know anything about sex, gay, straight, anything, or trans. They don't know anything about that. I think it's something that eventually learned. But what I can tell you is people's feelings. I can agree that if you feel a certain way, I'm not disagreeing that people can't feel a certain way. I'm not disagreeing that if you feel as if you're a man, if you feel as if you're a woman, I'm not disagreeing with your feelings. I agree that you can feel a certain way. Now, do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but I'm not denying your feelings. But as far as comparing it to race, that's not. I don't feel like that's correct.
For a second, because I'm the one who I'm in the situation about comparing.
Hold on. Let her finish because we were having a little discord. Your witchy father, the username is funny. What were you saying now?
I get that, but do you mind if I share my story to help get a little broader perception on everything?
Well, sure. We don't, if you can get it in within a 30-second to a minute clip, sure. But I don't want to, I just want to let other people speak. As you can see, people want to talk.
I'll try to put in 30 seconds.
Please.
The main thing that I've had when I was growing up was who I was and who I was as a person, because I've always been put into this little box and I never felt like I fit in that box with frilly dresses and pink. I never fit in with any of that. But when I saw something that was meant for boys, that's when I would feel a sense of euphoria that I've never felt in my entire life. And it wasn't until I went to go get a short haircut, which I found that I am transgender, because I felt a sense of euphoria I've never felt in my entire life. It's a sense of euphoria that no one but yourself will ever feel.
Okay.
And this has happened from a young age. The first thought I had of what if I wasn't a girl was when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So you're with your father. Can I ask you a question? Because you and just correct, because I can't first give me your pronouns and how you identify before, because I want to be sure I ask my question correctly.
My pronouns are he, him, and I identify as a trans male.
Okay, so if someone were to call you anything outside of he, him, and a trans male, how would you feel? Because those are terms.
Well, usually I'm not that offended by it. I have a mother who is very forgetful, so I am very open-minded to it. As long as people aren't an asshole about it, then I'm fine with it.
So if someone was to, because you were born as a female, correct?
That is correct.
But you identify as a male, and you prefer for people to call you man or trans man. So if someone called you anything other than what you wish to be called, would you consider that to be disrespectful?
No, I would not consider that to be disrespectful, as long as they are not being disrespectful. If it was a mistake, or if they're forgetful, if they have dementia, then
but that's not what she's saying. What she's saying, if you said that like you said, you had your pronouns, right? And I insist on calling you a woman or a female deliberately after you told me what you want to be called, would you find that disrespectful? That's what she's saying. Not pardoning if you did it by accident, not pardoning if it was a mistake, right. If it was deliberate after you told them what you wish to be called. That's what she's asking you.
Yes.
So the whole, and this is the whole topic, because I think we keep bringing in so many different areas and subjects, and the main subject and issue at hand is basically if someone says, hey, I understand what the term cis woman means, I understand what cisgender means, but please call me a woman. And someone says, oh, but you're a cis woman. It's what you are. Why are you mad? It's in the dictionary. That's what you are. You're so stupid. Blah, blah, blah. You must be transphobic. That should not be happening. And that's what's occurring. And that's the issue. And I think we keep trying to plug in all of these different things to justify what's going on, opposed to saying, hey, you know what? If they can respect and call me what I desire to be called, why can't I return that same respect? And I think everybody keeps taking it everywhere else, opposed to just saying, hey, this is the topic right here. This is the issue. Just address that and leave everything else out the gate. Because we're not looking outside the gate. This is the only issue we wanted to address. Hey, if I can call you a man because that's how you identify and I can use your pronouns, why can't you just call me a woman instead of saying, no, you're a cis woman? It's in the dictionary. Because, and I say that because I had to prove a point today, transvestite is in the dictionary too, but that's very disrespectful and it is not used.
So you're with your father. I want to know what do you think about what she just had to say?
I think I'm starting to get a grasp on the actual issue here.
And what is your opinion? Do you think that what she said was valid? Because you're the only, according to my knowledge, as so far spoken, you're the only trans on the, I'm not sure if that's disrespectful or not, but forgive me my ignorance, but you're the only trans on the panel. So with that being said, I want to know what you think about it, because I feel like your opinion would be valued a little more on that in particular, what she just said.
I mean, like, she does have a point. People should not be called out if they are cis, if they're trans, or whatever they are. They should not be called out on that.
But do you think that it's an issue if somebody says, well, hey, I just don't want to be called cis. We can coexist. We can have a conversation. We can be respectful. But if somebody says, if they're referred to as cis and they just say simply, I just don't want to be called cis, I appreciate it, that's it. And do you also think that that's an issue?
I feel like I'm sorry, I forget very easily, like my mom. I don't think it's an issue if you don't want to be called cis. I really don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
That's just how you feel, and that's valid. So a lot of people don't want to be called a lot of things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's the main. That's my only point. I have nothing against anyone. I move in love and light, but I can also move in sage and good. And unfortunately, that's where I'm at now, because it's like if the community is going to keep coming for me because I just want to be called a woman, then okay, let's take well.
And I was just actually say interject before the woman above me continue.
Sure.
So
say what you gotta say.
Okay, so earlier, like especially when I made that, I never got to finish my initial illusion with the dichotomy of like gender versus like race and ethnicity. So is anybody familiar with like passing, like how people used to pass and the like black people in the like 60s and such, like light-skinned black people?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Is that nobody? Yeah, so light-skinned black people, like if they were born to like black parents, legally they're still black, but if they were able to like pass based on their physical appearance, and they would live in white society, but it never changed their biology. So so they still had the black blood, which is what was like made them legally not able to like live the life that they were living. So when I make the distinction between like race and like gender and transness, this is me speaking of the social implications of both of them, because it's marginalization. Whether or not like if people were marginalized by like the length of their hair, it would be like the illusion would be valid, but they're not. So this is why race is something that is applicable here. But what she said above me is like, can we stick to the topic of like cisgender? And I feel like it's interesting to center like cisgender people in that conversation, because I mean, it's not really something that's a lot more nuanced than like starting and stopping there. Because I feel like we have to unpack and acknowledge the implications of being, because there was someone on this live who literally was saying real women and literally saying like they're coming for my kids, and you didn't really contest
30 seconds.
That. So it does, to me, it's a dog whistle, and I don't understand how it could be any, because you didn't contest that. So do you have any issues with that, like saying that trans people or gay people are coming for people's kids or like trying to convert people?
Well, that wasn't the topic here, right? And you just said
somebody said that on here.
Who said that on here? I didn't contest it. I do believe that
her name was Shauna.
Okay, yeah, I do believe that she made the comment, but that's not that the reason I didn't elaborate on it, because that's not the topic here. That's not what we're going off. And like you just said yourself, you want to try to stick to the topic. I didn't contest it because I agree with it.
Right, exactly. So you agree with it, and that is transphobia. So I'm saying
that's not transphobia. All right, stop for a second. Stop for a second. Well, to address what you said about race, address what you said about race before, right? You said that people just like trans people are born, just like black people are born a certain way. And I think your witchy father even addressed that. She said that, well, yeah, the feeling can be there, but the transition is different. We don't transition. So when you said that the born thing, that was the poor analogy, and that's what I disagreed with, right? So that's the only thing. Yeah, but you started talking about marginalizing. Yeah, but you started talking about marginalization. You started talking about all this stuff. We were talking about simply when you said you're born, you being born into a certain race and sticking with it. You being born male is not like someone being born trans, right? Yeah, what's in your head is in your head. But when you decide to transition, when you decide to take hormones and do all that stuff. That's not the same. So for you to compare it to race in that manner, it was a very poor analogy. Okay.
Social. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the. But listen, you keep talking about social constructs. Listen. I want to move on from this because you keep talking about social constructs. You keep talking about marginalization. That is not what we're talking about. What I just said is what I was referring to. What I just said is what we disagreed with, and you're still stuck on it. So, and honestly, the whole point of the topic, which the only transgender that I know so far on the panel, she basically agreed with the respect thing. So that was really all I wanted to hear. So
Okay,
I want to let hold on. I want to let someone else speak.
I'm gonna go.
Okay. I'm gonna let someone else speak. Hold on. Gator Rules 52. I'm not sure if I heard from you. Did you get a chance to speak? Yeah, so let him speak and then I'll let the last hold on. I'll let you speak and then I'll let the last person speak. So what's your name? Where you from?
Nate. My name is Nate.
What's up, Nate? Georgia. All right, Georgia in the house. What you got to say on the topic, buddy?
Yes. I mean, I would just say that it's hard to say. So I would just question why. I would like to ask for the people who don't like being called cisgender, why is that?
Well, I can say it's simply just a respect thing. You know, I'll let everybody else who wants to speak on it elaborate after me because I know that I think Tot Style. I think she had Tot Style. She had a lot to say about it. But for myself, it's a respect thing, and I think we've said this a numerous amount of time. People want to be identified a certain way. People want to be, called a certain thing. Like I've said, I've been on lives where I mistakenly called somebody bro. Like I'll be talking to a girl or my girl or even my mom, be like, bro, did you just see what they did? Like, dude, like that was crazy. And I got yelled at. I got called transphobic because I misgendered somebody, and it was genuinely an accident. And these are things that people fight for. They literally, they want to be respected. Now, I understand that the word has a certain etymology. I understand it has a certain definition, and by definition, you can be called a certain thing. But if I feel uncomfortable being called it, it's simple. I don't want to be called that.
So I was just gonna let's pack into that a little bit more, I guess. I would just say, let me not pretend to understand the reason why they got mad, but I would assume that the reason that they would get, frustrated with that is because misgendering, it can be, not a good thing for somebody. Let's say if with gender dysphoria,
yeah, look, listen,
listen.
I'll save you the trouble on that. Listen, I'll save you the trouble on that because I know where you're going with this conversation. I've heard it a lot. It's not even about that. You can scratch. Listen, you can scratch everything I said. I don't care. I just don't want to be called it. We can coexist. We can have a Discord. We can have a simple conversation. If I just say that, hey, for the duration of this conversation that we're having, please don't refer to me as cis again. Simple respect. Now, if somebody just says, hey, don't call me that, you shouldn't now call me a transphobic or homophobic. No, I just simply want respect. And that is so, I don't understand why that's so hard to simply, and what I find ironic is the people that are fighting for these rights, the people that want to be accepted, right? I'm not coming out here and creating this discord because I have this thing where I want to be accepted. No, it's you. So if you want people to accept you, if you want to have a conversation, don't you think it would behoove you to respect somebody in their conversation? It's just simple logic. And that's where I have a problem with. And I think everybody else can agree with that.
Can I? So whoever else, do you have a specific reason why you don't want to be called cis? Besides, there has to be a reason. Everyone has a reason for not liking something.
I'm sorry. So if you call somebody cisgender, it's the same thing as calling you a tranny or a faggot or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just disrespectful.
But how is it? Those terms have.
You wouldn't like it. Like if you were transgender, you would not be like, oh, there goes that tranny. Oh, you wouldn't. He or she is a tranny. That would be disrespectful. The same thing as you being like, oh, they're cisgender. It's the same thing, but it's just not a word that we like. We just like, I just want to be, I'm a woman. I born a woman. I've birthed 2 children. I've breastfed. Like I am a woman. I don't want to be called cisgender. Just like you don't want to be called tranny or a faggot or anything. Like it's just disrespectful words.
Hold on, daughter of light. I'm gonna let you speak. You say what you say, but let's just. I don't want to get my live kicked off, so just try to refrain from that because
I'm sorry.
just saying the F word. Just try to. I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you. I'm just saying let's just try not to say that. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I won't say that no more. My bad.
Yeah.
So let me just respond to that. Those two words are slurs because they're used to dehumanize somebody and to, historically those words are used like when you're like thinking negatively of someone when you're going to attack them or whatever have you. It has history behind it. Just like a lot of words have history behind it. That cis is not a slur. That's why I'm kind of.
We didn't say it was a slur though. We're not saying it, and I think that's another misconception that we consider it a slur. We're not considered it a slur. We're simply saying it is disrespectful if I'm asking to be called a woman that you want to say you're a cis woman. You're a cis. It's just about respect.
I can see your point, and I can just like briefly talk about why they made that word. It was just to differentiate between. There was a lot of conversation with trans people or trans women or trans men, so they use the word cis to when you are talking about this situation, then you can easily differentiate. Just a little bit easier, just to make it more simple.
Yeah, we listen. That's the thing. I think we all are aware of what the word means, how it's used in certain conversations. Where even if you talk about the etymology of the word, it being a Latin word, I think we're all well aware, and it is a respect thing. We're just simply saying, hey, if I don't want to be called a certain thing, don't call me that. And I think what's happening here, just like you said, the words have certain histories to them. Like, for example, gay, the word gay wasn't always considered to be a negative thing, right? And I remember even hearing about that when I was younger in grade school. But what I think might happen here, if you continue to call people things where they don't want to be called it, I think somewhere 20, 30, even 40 years down the line, this could be considered a slur for straight people. So, and that's the course it can take if people don't continue to respect. Now, I'm not saying that it's a slur. We understand what the word means. It's simple. Don't call us it. If we choose not to be called it, it's why is that so hard to just say, yes, I understand that, end the discussion. And the pushback that we see here, which is very simple logic, right? And this is the whole point. It's why is it even a discussion? Why do I have to put a live up to stick up for people who are heterosexual and say, hey, well, I just want to be called this, and it's still pushback, and that very thing is the problem in itself.
So I'm heterosexual, heterosexual, cis, whatever. So for me, when I hear that word, I hear it as an identifier. So for me, it's like, okay, there's nothing. It's just an identifier. There's nothing special about this. It's just like if anyone called me a male or a man or whatever, it's exactly the same thing to me. So I would question why. I want to say question why. What the other person has said, the girl that dropped, that it's a dog whistle. I can understand pushback because of that, because I have been through a lot of lives, and when people will usually say that, and I'll say one thing, Top Styles, you're the first person I've ever heard, ever, that has said that, that they talk about trans women as women. That's literally the only person I've ever heard say that, so I have big respect to you. But usually when it's used like that, there's a lot of other things that are associated with somebody saying something like that, something innocuous like, oh, I don't want to be called cis. So I think that a lot of pushback comes because of other people that maybe not you, but other people who use that as like tell other people, hey, I actually hold these transphobic views or whatever. I'm not saying you are, but hold these other views that are very negative.
Well, listen,
so I can understand why pushback would happen because of that.
I think what you're trying to look for, you're trying to look for some underlying reason. And even if there were, it's still something to be respected. Because if you see right there, I said, now do I give up my beliefs to cater to yours?
Oh shit.
You understand what I'm saying? If I say, so if I say just right there, where I say, now do I give up my beliefs to cater to yours? I think now what you're looking for is a more underlying reason as to why people are saying it. You have to understand that all around the world, this is still a minority. It may be a little bigger in the United States, but even still, people who identify with these communities, they're still in a minority. That's first and foremost. Two, that you have approximately 4 billion people who practice Abrahamic religions where this is something that is not accepted. So even if you try to say, well, I feel like it's some more underlying reason, that shouldn't matter, because that's not even the discord here. The discord is simply respect me. You're going to have majority of people who don't believe in it and don't agree with it. But that's a whole different conversation. And I don't feel like that's a battle that can be won. So with that being said, you trying to look for an underlying reason that shouldn't matter.
And that's exactly it. Like, if someone is just saying, hey, don't refer to me as this is what I prefer to be called, why can't that be respected? If someone is born as a man and they identify as a woman and their pronouns are she, her, and we respect that. And for me, this happened to me because I was told,
daughter of light, you can speak after her. Just let her speak and then you can go.
What happened is, one time I was talking in this conversation, and someone asked me was I a man. Because sometimes my masculine energy is strong. I have masculine features in my face, and I'm okay with that. And I said, no, I'm a woman. And they said, oh, you're a cis woman. I said, no, I'm a woman, just woman. That's it. So from that, it was the argument, oh, but you're a cis woman. And that's why I had to go so hard on this. I'm like, if I can respect the community, the pronouns, what they want to be called, why is it my request is like thrown out the window? Now I need to be homophobic and everything else, opposed to just understanding that, oh, no, I need to give her the same respect that she gave me.
Daughter of light, you can speak. Go ahead.
All right, I'm just going to throw out a statistic. 80% of children / teenagers have gender dysphoria. 80% of them grow out of gender dysphoria. 80%. Okay. I used to think I was a boy because I like climbing trees. Okay, when I was 5'6", you know how it is, how society. But 80% of children up until age 18, all the way up until like 20, I think, they grow out of that. So, and on top of that, 1% of you, I don't know if you guys live in the U.S., right? 1% of our nation, if you live in the U.S., 1% are transgender. 1% of the nation is transgender. 3% is gay. So that means that if the whole nation, only 4% of the nation is either transgender or gay. The 96% are cisgender, if that's what you want to call it. I think it's disrespectful. But 96% of us disagree with the 4%. So if the majority, literally it's an overwhelming majority of people that completely disagree with this ideology, why are 96% of the nation being prosecuted when the majority of us feel this way? It's only 4%. And even out of the 4%, there's a lot of gay people and transgender people that still side with us. So it's even a less percent. So it's like, let's say 97% of the society is against this whole stuff. So it's 3% trying to push an agenda on the other 97. It's ridiculous.
Well,
why is this even a conversation?
I think the powers
4% is either gay or transgender. 4% of US.
Well, I think that's a whole nother conversation in itself. I think that I think it being pushed is like somebody else said before. It's not for us. It's for the generation to come, and and that's what I think. That's my personal opinion, but I agree with you. I agree.
And I agree with that. I feel this way. I'm just saying the majority of people feel this way. 96% of society feels this way. It's only 4% of people that really got a problem.
I mean, I would just say that just because 96% of people are, let's say cis, I guess, to identify what we're talking about, but let's say 96% of people are that way, doesn't mean that 96% of people agree that cis is disrespectful or
This is true. That is true. That is true.
Yeah, so we have to do a survey to see, okay, how many people actually think it is or not, and I don't think a survey like that has been done. Now,
I'm sure I was thinking of doing one.
I mean,
we can Google it. We can DuckDuckGo. I mean, we can DuckDuckGo it. I'm sure there has been a study. We just didn't look it up.
It depends. It's hard to do like peer-reviewed studies across populations like that. big, huge population like the United States, it's kind of hard.
Well, yeah.
You just do a sample.
True, but I don't know if there's any that have been published. But I would be very shocked to see that majority of people disagree with even trans people in general.
Yeah.
I would be shocked.
Well, a census is impossible. When I went to college, I understand that a census is never 100% accurate. Why? Because not everybody's going to participate. That's common knowledge. But you can estimate, you can guesstimate. And I was just looking because I'm somebody who has a relatively religious background. I'm not going to say I'm super religious, and I was looking at for people, and you can, and I think it's Pew, I forget the name of the organization. They calculate how many people practice religions by countries and states, and but majority of the world identify with certain religions. And with that being said, I think unanimously amongst all the Abrahamic religions, which are the largest practiced religions on earth, disagree with anything about the LGBTQ.
So I'll say
but hold on, let me finish. Hold on, guys. So when you say that, that somebody doesn't want to be called cisgender because there's some more underlying reason, you are 100% right. And I think unanimously that will always be the case. But I don't think that's a conversation that you can win because you're still in the minority with that. So I'm not trying to take it there. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I get you. But I'll also say one interesting thing. I don't know if you know this, but Jewish people, which I guess the father of these Abrahamic religions, they actually do not have problem with transgender people, and they have multiple genders. They have 8, I think. So I think.
Hold on. Well, I understand. I've heard of stuff like that. And also when you get into the Kabbalah and some of these scripts, they also talk about things like pedophilia and people having intercourse with newborn babies. So I don't exactly prescribe to that. Anything that says something like that, I don't agree with, and I don't think that that's the best reference because it's not, and that's why I try, and I'm not trying to get into that hold on.
All Jewish people. Now you're going to. We're talking about a different conversation.
Yeah, but you made a very but hold on. You made a very general statement, and I made a very general statement. Now I understand that's not all sects, but there are a large group of people, and I remember going over and reading the text myself. So if you make a very general statement, we can play that game, but that is not something that's in your favor. So trying to bring that to the conversation, I don't think it would behoove you. So I'm trying to stay away from that.
I guess my question is, how is it a general statement that generally the Jewish people believe in multiple genders besides 2?
Because when you get into that, that's not all Jewish people. You understand that there are different sects of exactly. There are different sects of Judaism. So not all of them believe that. Not all of them believe in the Kabbalah. So it is very general.
But we can look it up. We can see how many do. We can easily do that, right? Look
it up. Well, you can, but the point is, but listen, I don't want to get into that because it's a losing battle either way. Because even if you get into it, and you say Islam and Christianity are the largest 2 religions on the face of the earth, what accumulatively maybe 4 to 5 billion people practicing, that's majority of the earth. So if you say that, even if you say, well, you people take what they want and they select what they want from religion, I think unanimously people would agree that that is something that they're not okay with. And I'm trying to stay away from that conversation, but you keep trying to push it.
Let's stay away from it. I can argue that all day. Let's stay away from it.
Yeah, so we can let's let Chad speak. Chad, what's your name? Where you from?
Name's Chad from Ohio.
Okay, Chad, what do you have to say on the topic?
So, my 2 cents, and I've been listening for the last 10 minutes or so, listening to everyone what they were saying. One thing that the host mentioned in the beginning, and that's the biggest part, it does not matter if there's underlining reasons why you don't want to be called cis. If someone comes up and says, oh, are you a cis male? And if I say, Please don't call me that. End of story, done. That's where it ends. It does not matter what my reasonings are. It does not matter if I have underlying reasons or not. If I say don't call me that, it ends there. And if you press and if you question, well, why is that? That's being disrespectful.
Right.
And it's very simple. And my thing is, and you know, and that's so simple, but and this is why I do it. It's such a clear evident that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like brainwashing. Maybe I don't know what it is. It's like almost a cult like that for this very simple, rudimentary line of respect that we're asking for. There's still pushback, you know, and that's the clear indicator. Like that's the problem.
Well, there's a reason there's pushback. And the reason there's pushback is because, I'll tell you the reason. The reason is because I've heard some of the views espoused that, you know, they're coming for your kids and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's that. I'll just tell you that's what it is. It's when people say that, usually, I would say from my interactions on TikTok, 99% of the time, it's usually other things besides that. So that's why people have a pushback. Not necessarily if you were, hey, everything like how Tassel has been talking about it. I'm sure that if you espouse that and you don't have any of those other views and you espouse that and you say, hey, I just prefer whatever, people won't come at you very hard. But then what I've heard already so far, there's other things, other views underlying it. It's not just that, because this conversation is really relegated to the internet. It's not a real conversation people have on their day-to-day. I'll say that for sure.
Well, that's why it's the big problem. It's not a conversation, and I'm not saying this is towards the trans community, but this is definitely towards the activists in the trans community. Because if you scroll on the For You page live, you're going to, like 9 times out of 10, you're going to come across a debate that's titled, if you're not trans, you're cis. If you don't agree, if you're not cis, you're transphobic.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many debates that I would join. And the very first thing they say is, hey, Chad, what is your pronouns? Are you cis? Are you trans? I was like, why does that matter for this conversation? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, in the real world, when you're talking to people, as you see in these debates, when they're like, what are your pronouns? Are you cis? Are you that? That doesn't happen in the real world. It doesn't make sense. You don't go up to someone and go, right. Oh, hey, how are you? Are you cis? Are you trans? What are your pronouns? What can I call you? Like, no, right. So it's very weird that you come across.
Hold on. Let him finish. Let Chad finish. He's on to something. Let him finish.
You come across these debates, and they're just constantly trying to label you. And if you don't agree with it, you're automatically transphobic. You're automatically a bigot. You're automatically this and that. And the thing is, I may not agree with the trans community. I may not agree with the ideology. It doesn't mean I'm not going to respect you. You are still a human being. You are still a person, and I am going to respect you no matter what, even if I don't agree with what you believe in. So all I ask is you do the same thing for me.
Very simple. Very simple. And that's the main reason why I did this live. I tried to join the live earlier, and I got kicked off the live, and I was using simple logic. Now the conversation was a lot more in depth, and they were talking about you know, the DMS-5, where they basically were psychologists. They diagnose people with mental disorders. And I had stated something about, well, the DMS-5 had made a mistake and categorized pedophilia as a sexual orientation instead of a mental disorder. Now, the implications of that means what? That you're trying to normalize something by saying that's a sexual orientation. That should never be that way. And I got kicked off for saying that. And then no one was able to challenge me on it because it's an actual fact. So when I said that I discredit, I'm a little how do you say, I'm a little skeptical of the DMS-5 and their diagnosis, right? So when I said that was all hell broke loose. I was called all types of names. I wasn't once disrespectful. I was having a regular conversation. And then after that, I was no longer able to speak for exposing that.
So I think that one of the reasons why they got frustrated with you, I would assume, is because they classify pedophilia as a sexual orientation, but then they also have clarifiers and qualifiers there about disorder, which is when you actually act on those problem, like those urges, you have a problem.
But okay, but do you not
feel
see
like
the
you want to act on
implications
it,
of
that's a
that?
problem.
Yeah, but so are you justifying what they did? Because even they said they made a public statement. The people who made those books, they made a public. I read the article. You can Google it. You can pull up the article. They made a public statement and said that that was an accident, which I find bullshit. Because in part of my language, because that's not a mistake that you make.
Wait, which article did you see?
Well, you can Google it. You can Google it. There's numerous amount of articles. All you have to do is Google it. It's numerous amount of articles. This is a fact. And the implication of that is that you're trying to normalize something. You should never say that's an orientation. You should never say that's a preference, that you prefer children. That is not something that is okay under any circumstances. So for you to say that, well, orientation is just because it is a thing, that doesn't mean you act on it. No.
Wait. Isn't an orientation a sexual attraction?
Yeah, but but they didn't classify, instead of classifying it as a mental disorder, they said orientation. I don't think you're understanding the implications of what that means. And I'm trying to be nice about it, but it's a little bothering that you're even trying to justify that.
Oh, I'm not trying to justify pedophilia as like, yeah, I'm not trying to justify like that. People need help if they are that way. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because but my point is, back to what Chad was saying, is that because I said that, it was all hell broke loose, and everyone on the panel started to call me all types of names and saying that, oh, I look like this, I look like that, or just irrational stuff like I closetly love trans, like all types of nonsense. And I wasn't able to talk, and that's
so disrespectful.
it is, and it is. It's like, I know I at no point discouraged anyone. I didn't insult anyone. They automatically started coming for me. You understand what I'm saying? And when you get into that conversation, and maybe one day I'll do a different topic, but it's really hard to get into, because even if I speak on it, my page gets targeted, right? And I get kicked off live. So I try to stay away from it, but it's really it's a losing battle, especially when you pull up some of the facts of these topics.
I will just say that on my experience with live, most times I see are the question, are trans women women, or trans women are not women, or something like that, to that effect. So most of the time I see conversations like that. And in those same conversations, we see the same thought that, I don't want to be called cis. So that's where I'm coming from is most of the time that when I see this kind of conversation, I also see people that, completely invalidate somebody's life, essentially. So that's where I'm coming from that. It's the association. Just like we associate when some people use certain terms, even though the term might be harmless, we associate it with a problem. So I'll just leave it at that. That's usually what happens here.
But that's case. Okay if that happens. And that's what this country needs to remember. Like, not everyone is going to agree with everyone. And that goes along with anything.
Right.
You got people that still believe it's a flat earth. You got religious people. You got anything. You got people that think Bigfoot is real. It doesn't matter if someone disagrees with your beliefs. It's going to happen. And you know what? What happens to you? Nothing. Just continue on with your life. I'm not afraid to admit I'm a Christian man. There's a lot of people who do not believe in Christianity. There's a lot of people that are like, well, how can you believe in some fake? And they're, talk their talk. And it's like, you know what? That's fine. I was like, I'm not controlling your life. I can't control what you believe. This is what I believe. And why is it that what I believe affects your life? It does nothing against you. And that's the problem with this movement right now, especially with the activists. Like I said before, if you don't agree with them, then you're being labeled as a bigot and a phobic, and then you get attacked. And even the host said his life gets attacked, his channel gets attacked. It's that whole cancel culture if you don't go along with the narrative. Yeah. And it's a ridiculous narrative, because this narrative itself literally makes up less than 5% of the entire population. I mean, they want the rest of the world to change their belief to cater to this 5%.
I think conversations about percentage of people is not useful, because we can acknowledge these are people, and and we can talk about, okay, majority rules, but if we talk about that, then we need to talk about like what situations I'm Black, so we can talk about, okay, if the majority of people support this, is it still right or is it wrong? Like, if the majority of people support not equating this and slavery. But if the majority of people support slavery, then is it okay? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No,
let's not talk about majority because that might not be
You're right, but that goes back to it's regardless of it being a minority or majority. The point that I was trying to make is not everyone's going to agree with you no matter what the topic is, and that's fine. That's perfectly okay. Move on with your life.
Yeah.
Just because this person doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you have to like go attack them and then your day's ruined. Like in all seriousness, when people become offended by something, nothing happens. You sit there and you go, I'm offended by this. Okay. What did it do to you physically? Nothing. Are your feelings hurt? Yeah, but I'll be fine in like 10 minutes. Like nothing happens when you become offended. Get over it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, and I can agree with that. It doesn't happen, but it's that whole idea of looking for that underlying reason. And what he's saying, that majority, his whole point in saying that is, it's inevitable. You're gonna have people that disagree, right? And my thing is the question of why be so pushy with it? Because if you're in another country, like he said, and here in the United States, if somebody disagrees, yeah, it's okay, but in other countries, it's off with your head. Like that is not even a thing. I had somebody exactly. I had somebody when I did a topic on Uganda passing their laws, and Uganda is a democracy, mind you, and most of the people voted on it that if you're part of the LGBTQ, you can be jailed. And I had people that were from Uganda and the neighboring countries in that African and Africa, and they were saying that the reason was that it was children and people that were a part of that community being caught with children. So they made it a law, and so much so that people are being pulled out of their homes by the people that are just accused of being a part of the LGBTQ, not even speaking up and having rights, something totally different, right? I watched a Vice documentary in Iraq or Iran, one of those countries, where they were literally unaliving people by throwing them off of buildings because they were simply proclaimed to be gay or something like that. But my point in saying that is not even the case here. Nobody's even oppressing you like that. But then you have the nerve to say to us, oh, I'm transphobic, I'm homophobic, because I just simply said I don't want to be called cisgender, or if I disagree with you. It shouldn't matter if there's an underlying reason. You have to expect it in most cases. Right? In most cases, unless you're in a gay nightclub or a gay bar, you have to expect opposing views.
But can't the same be said about you? Like if you're saying that you should expect opposing views, and if sometimes, hey, people can oppose your views, they're being valid in opposing you, right? It's only on their little space in TikTok. It doesn't matter.
Sure, but I would never. But I'm not falling into the realm of hypocrisy, though. It's clear hypocrisy. If you fight for something and you say, hey, well, call me this, call me that, I want to be called this, I want to be called that, and then you say, well, oh, I'm fighting for this, but if you don't accept this, then you're this and you're now a slur, or you have some type of phobia, or there's something wrong with you because you don't want to accept what I got to say. Now that's where it forms into the role of hypocrisy. I'm not being a hypocrite.
No, not at all.
And that's the big difference. Sure.
I'm going to actually how y'all doing? Sorry, I don't mind to interrupt, Sheila. I'm going to hop off real quick, let someone in, but you guys have a good night.
All right. Thanks for joining.
I just wanted to say, my name is Sheila. I'm from North Carolina.
How you doing, Sheila?
I be on these lives where, I don't want to be called a cis woman either. Because that's not, I don't know. I just don't want to be called a cis woman. I don't have to have a reason why I don't want to be called one. I just don't want to be called one. And I just want to say, this is the thing with me. If I don't know his name up here, 52.
Peter. Yep. Davis role.
Yeah. If you I'm just saying, I'm just gonna give you another scenario. If you had a child that was going to school, right? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
If you had a child that was going to school, and every day your child go to school, somebody call him ugly. You know what I'm saying? Every day he go to school, another child say, hey, there's ugly. You see ugly right there? That's his name. His name is Ugly. That's what we want to call him, Ugly. So when you get home, your child says, it's a child at school that's calling me ugly all the time, and I don't know what to do about it. Okay. So when you address the parent or whoever you address, and the little boy say, well, that's what I want to call him because that's what I think his name is. His name is ugly, and that's what I'm going to call him. Would you have a problem with that?
So I would have a problem with that because ugly is a negative word. But if someone came up to me and called me lion, for example, I like lions. They say, "Oh, hey, lion!" Like they just call me that. Would you be mad? Like that's kind of my thought. Is like it's not a negative word. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's like you can say anything innocuous. So
it's not negative to you. It's not a negative word to you, but to others it can be if that's not what they want to be called.
To me, calling you a tranny, that's not negative to me. You are what you are, but it's negative to you, right?
But tranny, let me not say the slur, but because that can get you banned too. But
yeah, be careful with that, guys.
It's a slur, so that there's a difference between that too. But I can see your point.
But who decides what a slur is? Society, right?
Right.
The majority,
exactly.
The majority, 96% says cisgender is a slur.
That's not true.
So therefore, it's a slur.
That's not true.
It's a slur because the majority says it is. So it is.
That's an assumption. That you can't.
It's not
that's
because the majority of us says it's a slur. I don't think that. So 4% of you say the T word is a slur, but it's not a slur to us because to us we just calling you out for what it is.
The 96%
cisgender is a slur. All of a sudden it's a.
Well, I think the point she's trying to make is that obviously that's not the case, and that number is not quantified. But what she's saying is, if most people don't want to be called it, why do you give that pushback? Why is that so hard to accept? Even if you say, well, you can have it either way. If you say, well, you explain the etymology of the word, you understand what the word means. Yes, it's a Latin word. We understand that it's used in certain spaces. Okay, cool. But even still, aside from that, even if for the people who are not even using that reasoning, that they just don't want to be called it, for the people who have certain beliefs, why do you insist on trying to defend the terminology? Why is there such pushback with you? Why do you feel as if it is something that needed to be defended?
Leave it how it is. Why?
No, I want to know what he says. I want to know.
Well, my reason behind that, and I'll say this, my reason behind that is, personally, let me just talk for myself. Personally, and I'm a Christian, so there's nothing in my belief system that says cis is a bad thing. Cis, because cis means as we talk, we know it's up there, so we know what it is, right? So can you explain to me how that belief system doesn't match up with using the word cis? I don't understand how that doesn't match up.
Because I'm a woman. Because when trans people say they're a trans woman, they don't say they're trans cis women, right? They don't say they're trans cis women, right? They say they're trans women, right? As soon as I hear a trans person say I'm trans cis woman, then I'll accept it. But they want to use trans woman, that means I'm a woman. Well, yeah. You're trying to be like me. You're not trying to be a trans cis woman. You're trying to be a trans woman, right? So why don't we use cis when trans people are trying to say they're trans women? Let's just say they're trans cis women. What's the problem with that?
The thing I don't get is why would you call somebody something that they clearly don't want to be called? It's simple. Just don't call them that. It's simple. It's just like ABC. It's simple. Just don't call them that.
But
I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I agree with you. In fact, someone says, go ahead.
This is the thing. What was you calling women before you knew about the word cis? Was you calling them women all your life? Cis all your life?
Oh, it's before I knew the word. so yeah, I was called what I know until I knew the information.
So how old are you?
I'm 26.
So from the time you was, I say 10, you knew about the word cis? Or did you know about the word woman?
No, I knew about cis in college. So like when I was 19.
So that's what I'm saying.
20? Yeah, 20.
So that's what I'm saying. So you should, if you knew about the word woman, why would you change it? Just keep calling women women. That's what they're going to call.
And normally I do.
I don't understand it. And then on top of you, the transgender people calling biological women cis, when you try to tell them what they want, they're getting nasty. That's my thing. They just have a bad attitude.
But
just start to cuss and it just be bad.
But to go back to his point, because he did say something that he said he's a Christian man, and I think that it's the association, right? And like I said, I did try to stay away from this conversation. You said you're a Christian, but I think that most people who do have a level of religiosity, or some people who do have basic beliefs when it comes to their acknowledgement of religion and their acknowledgement of a creator and their acknowledgement of God. Usually when if something is coming from a certain community that they don't agree with, right, and is something being pushed by a certain community that they don't agree with, more than likely that is not going to be accepted. So where you have verses in the Bible, where it says, well, if a man lays with a man like he does with a woman, he should be unalive. Yeah. So whoever's making noise, I don't know whose mic that is, but can you just mute it for us? Everybody mute their mics for a second until you talk, because it's just a lot of noise in the background, please. So when you say something like that, and when people associate, they're most likely not going to be so receptive to it. It's not exactly, and you're being real technical with the word, but if we get to the nitty gritty of it, I think that people are not going to want to associate with it at all if we're being real. And I think that with you being a Christian man, you say, I'm Christian, I don't see where Christianity says anything about cisgender. But when you put it into a certain realm and it's coming from that community, I think, in most cases, if we're being real, you'll get a lot of pushback from it.
I can see why.
Hold on, let him finish. Let him respond. And then you can say, I just, because we were trying to have a little discord, and I did want to bring up the topic that he did. So say what you have to say, bro.
I'm not going to invalidate anybody's faith or anything like that. I can see why some people would, might have some kind of issue with it. I'm just speaking like objectively, just looking at the word, and then also looking at the word of God. I'm not seeing any bad thing or any sin or any issue with using a word, because all words are made up by men. And all men have problems, right? It's loosest sense. All men have problems. So words are words. We evolve in the usage of words. So I think if you examine your own language, you'll see that probably some words you use come from communities that you might not like, or communities that are like quote unquote sinful. So that's why I'm kind of not understanding the problem, because it's just a word.
Okay, so look, before the 1960s. I'll let you speak. Go ahead. I just say let you speak. Say what you got to say, Todd.
That's not me. Okay.
Oh, whoever wanted to speak, I'll let you say what you got to say.
That was me.
Okay. Okay. If trans women want to be called trans women. Is that not correct? Or am I?
I think
some of them want to be called woman. Not all trans women want to be called trans. Some of them want to be called woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the thing. Every time I see a trans woman, if I just prefer to them as a man, every time I see him, like, hey man, how you doing, man? You think that would be out of, you get what I'm saying? Would that be disrespectful?
A gender neutral term, man, or say a man like someone who's like an actual man, like someone who has a penis and goes to the guy's bathroom and does this kind of thing.
So let me get this correct. So a trans woman was born male. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, biological male. Yeah.
Well, no,
right. So every time I see a trans woman,
the trans woman is someone who was born not a woman and transitioned to a woman, and a trans man is someone who was not born a man and transitions to a woman.
Okay, so if I see a trans woman, which she was a male before she was a woman, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, sure.
Every time I see her, and she clearly transformed, she looked like a woman, but she was a male before she was a woman. I say, hey man, what's up? How you doing, man?
That'd be disrespectful.
Would that be disrespectful?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the same point I'm trying to make with you when you say a cis woman.
No, just don't want to be called a woman. It's literally just identifying the gender given to you.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me hold on, guys. Let me bring some order. Let me bring some order to this. Was it Spicy Weiss? I'll let you speak in a second because you were here before. I think this is Persia. I'm not sure his username. Yeah, you were here, so I will let you speak. But I just kind of want to get back to the topic. What he said. You say he said he really doesn't see the issue and the word cis, and I'm really trying to associate it to just try to really have an understanding conversation. And my point was, like you said, before the 1970s, I believe, according to psychologists or psychology, homosexuality was considered a mental disorder. Now, it's not any longer. Hold on. Listen, Persia, you're new here, but we have some structure and we have rules. When I'm talking, nobody cuts me off, and when other people are talking, we try to give them the same respect. All right. But yeah, before that, it was considered a mental disorder. And with that being said, it's no longer is. Now, when that was changed, that didn't change your religion. You said you're a Christian man. That didn't change that verse. None of that changed. But it became more of a something that became more normal in society. And people, they still may have some pushback, but they still have their rights in the society. So when you say that, okay, well, people start to gain more and more rights and gay marriage starts to become, that still doesn't change your religion, right? And they're still associating with a certain community that goes against yours. So when you say, well, the term cisgender, even though, somebody who's a man or straight man or a woman is considered cisgender, right? And that may not be a problem just saying it, but just like that, when it's coming from something like that, and you feel like more of these norms and more of these things, these little nuances that come from the LGBTQ are coming into society. Now it comes into where it's like, well, more of these things are becoming normalized. And if you have a certain religion where these things aren't allowed, you're going to say, well, I don't really want to associate with that. I don't really want to, I don't want to concede to be calling this and being calling that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's more or less where the problem comes in. It's not, and like I said, I try to not get into these underlying reasons, but when you say that you have a certain level of religiosity and you said you don't see the problem, and I think that's where the problem comes in, is being associated with something that goes against your beliefs, even if it's not the word exactly, if you want to be technical,
Yeah, I think I can respond, or I can let other people talk. I don't know.
You can respond. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I would say personally, the word didn't even come from somebody who was of the community. So, if we want to be like specific, the word came from like just a regular, or I was a regular, a cis white, or I think it's a white woman. So the word came from them. So I don't see. We use that word as a distinguisher. I don't see words as regular words like that. I don't, even if it used as a descriptor for people in the community that I might disagree with from a religious standpoint, I don't see how that a word used to describe them, or a word that can be used to describe us in relation to them, I don't see how that can ever be,
Yeah, but you can, but like you said, even if you said that, well, yeah, it's just a word, it's a descriptor, and even if somebody from the LGBT didn't use it, right, they didn't come up with it, it is that community in which is being pushed by. And and like you said, I'm not sure if it's you, but it's somebody else on the panel before said certain words have certain definitions and have histories to them, and they have certain backgrounds. And I think what you're looking at the inception of a word being that can necessarily become or start something that has a negative connotation to it. And why? Because one, it's coming and associated with a community that doesn't necessarily correlate with a certain belief. And that's more or less what I'm saying. And I get what you're saying, that it's just a descriptor, but I think you're missing. And I think I truly believe you want to defend it. And I just feel like in the real world, like we said, these conversations don't really mix. But most people who aren't aware what the word cisgender means, It sounds like transgender. It sounds like something that is, associated with the LGBTQ. And I promise you, if you have this conversation in the real world and out called somebody cisgender, you'll run into a lot of problems, right? You'll run into a lot of problems. And I think that's where it's coming from. It's that association and what you're talking about. But that when you get into that underlying problem, which I tried to stay away from, I think that's what the issue is.
I think we would have to have a separate discussion about that among people who are Christians, because I do think that is a discussion that needs to be had, actually, and I have my opinions on that. So
okay, well, we can do this, but I want to let Spicy. We can do that, but I just want to let some of the people on the panel that haven't gotten a chance to talk. I want to let them talk. Spicy Weiss, I'll let you speak if that's what's your name? Where you're from?
My name is Spicy. I'm from Ohio.
Okay, Ohio in the house.
When it comes to the terms cisgender and transgender, they're antonyms. Like, they mean the opposite of each other. Like, one word needs the other word to actually be able to function within verbiage and conversations. And most of the time when you hear the term cisgender, it's typically not outside of a conversation having to do with trans people, which is why I don't think I've ever called a person cisgender in casual conversation. I don't think I've ever called a person cisgender outside of a debate having to do with trans people. And vice versa with being called trans. Me as a trans woman, I've never really been called a trans woman outside of conversations of me talking about trans people. Casually, the people that I know around me don't call me a trans woman. I'm just a woman to them, because that's casual conversation. That's how casually works. And I think that with it being an identifier specifically that people don't use at all, within society, trans women and trans men have been indoctrinated into using the term transgender specifically because we have been that term has been placed upon us by people that are not us. We didn't choose to be called trans women or trans men. We just have to identify as that because of the place in society that we are in at this point. And I think that when it comes to that, I still am gonna always say that I'm a woman, but I'm also a trans woman. That's the type of woman I am. I'm a trans woman, but I'm still a woman. And I think that when it comes to the term cisgender, I understand that people might not understand what the term means. Maybe it is the proximity to trans people that a lot of people just don't like. But I mean, unfortunately, that word is not gonna go away, because in order for the word trans to be able to function, it needs that opposing term.
I'm sorry, the opposing word is woman.
Hold on. Daughter of Light, I understand. You can respond. Yeah, but just let her. We got to show respect, and I have to be fair. You have to let her finish. I'm sorry, Spicy Weiss. Continue what you were saying. By the way, 30 seconds. I don't want to monologue, but I do want to respect what you have to say and treat everybody fair. So finish what you have to say. But 30 seconds, okay?
No, I was done.
Okay. Daughter of Light, if you wanted to respond to her, I'll let you respond. I think she might have walked away. Oh, there she is. Okay. Maybe
I'm
not.
sorry, but the opposing word to trans woman is woman. It's not cis woman, it's woman. Because like I said earlier, we don't call trans women trans cis women. Okay, they want to be called trans women, right? So what we want to do is stick with the fucking shit. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Language, please.
The topic. I'm sorry. We're gonna stick with the topic. You want to be called trans woman. The opposing view to that is woman, a biological woman. And there is no
and to talk about what you said, we're well aware of what the word means, right? We're well aware of it, and we understand what it means.
What cis woman means. I just don't
Yeah.
agree with it.
hold on. Let me finish. We're well aware what it means. We understand the etymology of it. We understand the definition of it. It's the simple respect of if somebody says they don't want to call it, even if this is an internet conversation, I would say the same rules apply. Like I get it, people are a lot tougher on the internet. If you go into certain spaces, it's almost like high school where if people on the panel agree majority, then there's almost a sense of bullying. And that's more or less why I wanted to start my panel, because even though you can say majority of the people on this panel don't agree with it, and I'm still fair, you know. And the point is, if I say, or if anybody says in conversation, if we're having a casual, cordial conversation, and somebody says, hey, you know, I don't really care about the definition, I don't care about the etymology of the word, I don't care how it's used, give me the same respect that I give you. And that's where the problem comes in. You understand that?
Can I respond?
Sure.
So I just want to first clarify. So I think where like the stump in the conversation comes in is that trans people, and I just want to specify, I didn't say that the opposing of transgender is like is women. I was specifically talking about the terms transgender and cisgender. Those are antonyms. I'm not really talking about trans women and what, like, that's not what I'm talking about. Those specific terms, specifically, those are antonyms. And I also just want to, like, I think the stuff in the conversation with trans people and biological people is that trans people, for the most part, are not being respected. When trans when trans women say that they're women, or trans men say that they're men, that's not something that is typically respected by people. And then you have people on the opposing end saying that you need to respect me and not call me cis, and I'll respect you, but most of them don't respect trans people in their identities. And I think that very much is so, like, the where the conversation begins to butt heads, because if we're saying that, like, identifiers, like, a person can just choose to not use an identifier, then that would mean that trans people have the right to ask you to not call them trans.
Oh, okay.
Like, I have the right to not
okay. So look, question. So with that same logic, if you feel as if people are not respecting it anyway, right? And that goes back to the conversations that we were having before about underlying reasons and being in a minority. Don't you think that it would behoove you to respect somebody, right, who is willing to have a discord with you? Wouldn't you think it would behoove you to respect somebody who's willing to have a conversation with you and still treat you like a human being, versus the other people where it's very dangerous for people that are trans? Because we know in a lot of part of the world, it is not safe for people like yourself. So my logic is, if somebody's willing to have a conversation with you, if I say, okay, I can disagree with your lifestyle, I can disagree with how you identify, but I will still respect you as a human being. I will still give you human rights, basic human rights. If you ask me for, I'm the type of person, if you said, hey, I'm really hungry, can you buy me some? I would buy you food. I would buy you food. So if I'm saying that, if I'm a normal human being and I'm saying, hey, don't call me that, and you say, well, transgender people are being discriminated against and this and that and third, okay, cool. But wouldn't it make more sense for the person that's willing to have a conversation with you and not disrespect you to respect that person? Wouldn't you want to try to make me as much of an ally as possible?
I mean, I think, well, from what I've seen in the spaces that I've been in, trans people don't have a problem respecting anybody and what they want to be called. But the problem is, if we have
now that's a lie.
Hold on. Let her finish, because
the problem is that when we have conversations about the trans community, the term cisgender is going to come up regardless of a trans person calling someone cis. That word, that term is specifically going to come up. Like, it has to be mentioned in the conversation having to.
It doesn't has to be mentioned.
Well, look.
Has to be mentioned.
Well, look.
At all.
Hold on. Well, look. See, that's the thing. Well, when a lot of these people, and I'm pretty sure anybody on this panel right now who's been in those conversations and who's been on those lives where somebody who is trans and they use the rhetoric like, well, if you're not cisgender, you're transphobic, and they say things like that, it is extremely hard to talk to these people. They're extremely disrespectful. They do not give the type of respect that I'm giving, right? You cannot have a casual, cordial conversation like I'm having. And I'm pretty sure anybody who's been in those spaces can testify to it. So I think unanimously, people who've been in those spaces will disagree with you. That's first and foremost, and then on top of that, it's like, well, my thing is, if you're in a minority of something and a lot of people will give you a lot of pushback, why is that not something that you would want to concede to? Why would you not concede to saying, well, if somebody doesn't want to be called cisgender, I'm not going to call them cisgender? It's a rhetoric that doesn't have to be had. It's not something that has to be normalized. So why is it something that is insisted versus saying, okay, well, I'm going to call cisgender. If you want to concede to it, you can. If you don't want to. I'll just respect you once you want to be called, versus no, it's going to come up. You're going to be called this and that. Why is it that versus just giving that person that mutual respect like you're given?
Well, I think that for the most part, trans people are already conceding to not calling any biological person cis within society. For the most part, like I said, the term cis, whether or not somebody is calling another person cisgender, the term cisgender will come up in conversations having to do with trans people, because it, like, once again, it is the antonym of the word transgender. It's something that has to be talked about, because not only heterosexual biological people are not the only people that can be identified with the term cisgender. It's like any person who identifies with the gender that they were assigned to at birth. That's like, I know a lot of gay and lesbian women who identify with the term cisgender, and I have conversations with them. They still have opinions about the trans community, and that term does come up. The term cisgender does come up because it's still used, and I think that majority of people, like, I don't think that. I think the majority of people within society who have no idea what happens on TikTok doesn't know the term cisgender at all. Nobody's called them cisgender. Like, it's not something that happens. I've never had conversations
30 seconds.
with people and said cisgender. So I don't really understand exactly why it shouldn't be brought up in conversation.
Well, hold on. I wanna let Persia speak, but before I let Persia speak, I want to say that it is a thing. It is a thing on it, and I can agree that it is mostly on TikTok, right? But it always starts somewhere, right? It starts somewhere, and then it's something that grows. Now, if I'm seeing this and I'm in chats where there are 1,000, 800, 500 people, right? And you try to speak to these people, and they insist, and they're demanding and commanding respects and rights for the community, but they don't want to give you the simple rights to simply call me what I want to be called. So then what you see is, as a problem, it's hard to have a real conversation. If you're sitting here saying, well, we're being discriminated against, I remember even one person saying that, it's almost like, what is it called? What would you call what Hitler did to the Jews? What would you call that? A genocide. They said that it's almost genocidal what's being done to trans people, which I feel is an exact exaggeration, right? When they make up less than 1% of the society. And last year in 2022, I think it was like 28 or 38 people died that from hate crimes, which were unalived from hate crimes that were transgender, right? So that's nowhere near considered to be genocidal. But that's my thing, and it is just a real issue where it's like, how can you have a serious conversation with people like that and try to even hear them out when there's just a lack of respect from the jump? And that's my thing. But you can respond, but I just want to let Persia speak, because you've been waiting patiently, and I appreciate that. But Persia, let us know your name and where you're from, and then you can say what you wanted to say uninterrupted.
And can I go, please?
Oh, say that again. What time about? Just.
No, I was asking to go after Persia.
Okay, sure. Just let Persia speak, though, please.
Yeah, so I'm Persia from Jersey. So just like start off with a simple fact, there's no biological man or woman. Man or woman are just two social construct terms for someone who was born with X, Y, and XX chromosomes. No one's genetically, biologically, any of those two. That doesn't make sense. It's not possible. And going on the fact of like trans, what I think Spicy was saying, trans is an identifier. So is cis. When woman is an umbrella term, man is an umbrella term. When you talk about a certain woman, you have to say an identifier, then them, right? Like, say my mom has black hair. I would have to say a black woman because she's black, or a woman with black hair, or a cis woman because she's not trans. Cis is just the opposite of trans, and it's there to separate experiences. That is all. And for the, like what the host said earlier too about like homosexuality was used to be identified as like a mental illness. It was identified as a mental illness for the sole fact that people were just didn't want that because of religion. That is it. Homosexuality has been around forever, along with being trans, because there's many historical paintings and just artifacts showing gay people, showing trans people, showing this, that, and the third. This stuff's always been around. It's just now that our religion doesn't have such a grip and hold on people's lives that it is now being seen.
Are you done, Persia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, first of all, there is a such thing as biological male, right?
No.
There is a difference.
No. Okay. So
there is a difference. I want to correct you on that.
There's biological male, female, and then whatever else there is, because there are different chromosomal matches. There's a biological male, biological female.
Yeah, but you said that there wasn't. You said there's no biological male, there's no
man.
Biological woman.
Yeah, man and woman are terms that society brought up. I mean, when I say male or female, then that's okay. That's a different story. That's someone who is not who's not intersex and has just XX or XY.
Okay, but the point is, the biological men and women are what transgender want to replicate. Even if you take the social construct of the name out of it, right? It's still something that's biological. That's something that they want to replicate. Because if they're biological man and feel as if, and you can respect feelings. I'm not acknowledging that they don't have that feeling, right? I'm saying that being biological male is true, right? Even if you say it's a social construct, it's still a construct that's there, and it's something that's always going to be there, because you can't have sex without gender. So for you to say that there's not a biological man or woman, that's not true.
You can have sex without gender. That's like,
how can you have sex? How would that work in society?
Because sex has to do with the chromosomes. Gender has to do with how you represent in society, how people view you.
Okay, tell me how you would have sex. Tell me how that would look in society, having sex without gender.
Easy. So no one is really man or woman. They're more identified with the genitals that they have, and then pronouns, the names they use are singular pronouns like I, or kind of neutral pronouns like they and them.
Okay, but
mostly
Persia,
identify them by their name.
Persia, answer my question. How would that work in society?
Easy. It's literally just never using man or woman terms ever again.
Oh, okay, but then no one would be able to be identified. But do you understand that the fallacy in your logic, right? Because even when you go to, hold on. Well, if for example, if I'm EMT, right, and you said that you are having a baby, right? But let's say if you're pregnant, but you transition, but you decided to keep your private parts, and you say, well, I'm pregnant, and you look pregnant, and you said, well, my water broke, and you look like a man, and I say, well, I'm confused. What do you mean you're pregnant? You look like a biological man, right? Or if you look like a man, and I don't use the term, there will be a tons of confusion, even when you go to the doctors.
It literally would be like, if you see someone's pregnant and you see that they have a vagina, like, oh, okay, this person was born with this
but you're missing the point. You're missing the point, Persia. The point is, you need the titles. You cannot even there are so much. Hold on, there are so much other things in society aside from pregnancy, where you would need to have someone's biological sex. So when you say that there's no such thing as a biological male and it's a social construct, yes, even if you say, if you take away male and female.
No biological man or woman. I never said male or female.
All right, but still, it's like almost synonymous. They're one and the same.
They're
male,
not,
woman,
they're
usually
totally
male and man are usually, usually the same, and that's where the problem comes.
But they don't have to.
All right, so even
Excuse
all
me,
right, so
how
if
about
you
this?
if you took away man and male, people would just find other words to fit that description because you need
And
there
that's
needs
why
to be a there needs to be a distinction.
So easy distinction for someone. If you're in a medical position, you're in a medical state, like you're a doctor or whatever, and your doctor asks you, hey, what do you have a problem? You tell them the problem, and then you're like, okay, what are your chromosomes? Are you male or female or something in between? And like, I'm this. I'm like, okay, now go through medical history, see what best works for you. You don't have to say you're a man. You don't have to say you're a woman. You don't have to say you're non-binary.
But do you understand? Can you acknowledge the issues with that? Can you acknowledge how that is excessive? Can you acknowledge that something that has been away for millennia, nobody's acknowledging that there weren't trans people. Nobody is not acknowledging that there weren't gay people, but this whole gender role thing has been around for millennia, has been around for forever. For now, towards the end of time, right? Well, you can say that based on your beliefs, but now you're going to come and change that. And you know how difficult would that be for people if you come and try to change a social construct that's been the same way for God knows how long. Do you understand my issue? Do you understand what I'm saying, Persia?
Excuse me. Riddle me this, Persia. We'll just use your terms. I will humor you. We put 10 cis men on an island, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we put 10 trans women on an island, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you think that society would flourish and grow, or do you think in 100 years you would find 100 or 20 dead male skeletons? Or if you
can't identify someone by their skeletons,
you could put 10 biological men on an island and 10 biological women. In 100 years, you will have 3 to 4 generations, if not more. You will have a whole society.
Okay, so one. That's side of like cis man and trans woman.
Like really, for real though, like really think about it.
I'm answering your question. Okay, so the island full of cis man and a trans man or trans woman wouldn't work because they both have penises and they don't have the ability to reproduce or the organs to reproduce.
So and then woman.
Oh wait, you said trans. You said cis man and trans woman.
By your term.
You said cis man and trans woman. You never said trans man.
Yeah. They're both men.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
They're all men.
I'm still answering your question. Can you stop talking for 2 seconds, right?
Yep.
So
I'm muted.
So again, an island full of cis men and trans women work because neither of them have the body parts to reproduce. An island full of cis man and cis woman would work because one portion has the biology to reproduce. And we're going off the basis of the fact that everyone on that island is either heterosexual, has the ability to reproduce, has capability to reproduce, doesn't have any type of medical dysfunctions to not produce sperm or not produce eggs or not to carry out pregnancies or whatnot.
I don't get this. Why is it so hard for y'all to understand this?
Well, hold on. Let me ask.
Why is it so hard? I don't get it. I'm serious. I just don't get this. Why are y'all making this so hard? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. Why is it so hard for y'all to understand this? I don't get it. Right. I just don't get it.
It sounds
when y'all don't agree with something, you start to talk about chromosomes and all different kinds of things, and it's man and woman. It's simple.
And Persia, it sounds
simple. I don't want to talk about no chromosomes. I don't want to talk about no cis women. I don't want to talk about no whatever it is. I want to talk about what it is. For years, it's been a man and it's been a woman. I will respect you because you are transgender.
But
I would do that.
Not
because
true.
I know
Yeah, that's a disingenuous.
It is true. It's man and woman. That's what it is.
Many societies throughout history have trans and cis and trans men and trans women are non-binary people. They just weren't those terms used. You can do the research yourself.
You can say exactly what you want to say. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this is what it is.
All right, guys, hold on. Hold on. I'll let you. Hold on, guys.
Trans men can have babies, or they can't have babies.
Sheila. Guys, hold on. I'll let you guys get it out. Now let's have some order in the court. All right, let you guys speak for a second. Let's have some order in the court now. Todd, because I did said you could speak after Persia went, so I want to let you say what you had to say.
So I wanted to comment on something Spicy White said, but then with what Persia said, I'm like, okay, so
take your time, say what you got to say. I'll let you talk because you've been waiting.
Is the agenda of the community? Is the agenda to just cancel out biological women and men, period, and everything needs to be trans women, trans men, cis women? Like, you just don't want to identify and respect that, okay, everything started with a woman and a man. Whether it was in spirit, and then they were formed and made in human form, a man, and then the woman was pulled out of the man. It seems like, hey, the issue is that people that want to identify and have always identified as a woman or a man, that we are the issue. And because we simply want to say, hey, just call us a woman. Hey, just call us a man. We don't want to identify as cis woman or cis man, even though we know what it means. We just want to be respected and just call me a woman. Just call me a man. Spicy White, you said you don't like to be called a trans woman. I have always called, if you appear as a woman and you want to be called as a woman and your pronouns are she and her, that's what I called you because that was the respectful thing to do. But when I say, hey, don't call me a cis woman, just call me a woman, oh, it's an uproar. And I don't like it. So I feel, based on what Persia just said, the whole thing is to just cancel out the term woman and man, make it non-existent, and make everybody fall under the label. Why didn't you just come up with new words? Why is it trans woman and trans man? Why didn't you just make it something completely different? And now you're saying, oh, woman and man never existed, and that's not the thing. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. It sounds fucking insane.
It does. Because I want to know what Persia came from. Do you have a mother?
Okay, so I clearly said, yeah, Spicy, you can respond. You can respond. Let me answer a question. So I literally said, the first thing I said when it came to this chat was saying women is an umbrella term.
Did you come from a...
And then you can't keep over talking me and then not letting me talk.
Persia, if you're going to say it's an umbrella term, I'm
going to go a little more granular and explain what that means. If you want me to answer the question, you need to shut up.
No, you need to explain what
that means. Answer the question. So you need to shut up and let me answer the question.
How would you birth here?
Okay. So my father, who is a cis man, a male, and who has male reproductive organs, and my mother, a cis woman,
you call him a
female, who has female reproductive organs, fucked and had me.
Oh, no, they didn't.
What's the umbrella term?
The women's umbrella term.
I just don't believe that.
But an umbrella term of what?
Can I respond? Thing that has to do with the woman. Like how
you saying woman is the umbrella for everything?
Oh my god, yes. So a woman who has black hair and a woman who has ginger hair are not the same, right? So you say a woman with ginger hair or a woman with black hair, or a white woman or a black woman.
No, I'm saying a woman. Period.
A Native American woman or a fucking woman.
We ain't talking about all the others.
So again, there's never gonna be a time in any conversation you have where woman is the solo term when you're describing one group of a woman. If you're saying woman in whole, like every single woman that is existing in society currently, then yes, you'll say woman because it's an umbrella term grouping all of them up into one. But if you're speaking about a group of people separately from other women, you will be using a identifier then woman. like black women and white women, women with black hair, women with ginger hair. But if you're ever speaking about women all together, it will just be women. That's including trans women, that's including cis women, that's including women who weren't born with eggs, including women that were born with eggs, women that can have babies, women who can't have babies, women who die, women who are alive, women who are children.
Persia, hold on. Time out. Persia, are you a trans or no?
No, I'm not a trans person.
Okay, so to my knowledge, the only trans person on the panel said that people that are trans, they don't get acknowledged, and they don't get that acknowledgement, and they have a hard time getting that acknowledgement, right? So with that being said, coming from a trans person, when you just said that in conversation, you're going to be saying woman, not trans people, they don't get that acknowledgement. And that's a part of the issue for them, but the point is it's not always being acknowledged that way.
So that's not what I said. I said when you're talking about a certain group of people, women, and a conversation, not even women, with man and woman both umbrella terms. We're talking about a certain group of man or woman. You're talking about all of them that fits the description. So a trans woman who has black hair will fall under the category of a.
But yeah, that's my point. But look, that's my point. You said a trans woman.
You have to say trans woman with black hair because trans women are women.
Yeah, but look, time out. That's the big disagreement. That's what she was saying, that they're not getting that acknowledgement always. And sometimes it's very clear to tell that whether somebody's biologically a woman or a trans woman. Sometimes it's really clear to tell. So when they're not always getting that acknowledgement. Even if you're trying to be technical and say, well, technically, right, using that rhetoric, that is a woman, but that's not always the case.
But that's semantics stuff. That's playing semantics.
But is that not what he's doing? Is semantics?
But that's not what I said, because what I said was, for the majority of people, when they talk about trans women, they don't view trans women as women. But the objective truth is that when you're talking about women, period, and you say women as and you're speaking generally, trans women fall into that objectively. It doesn't matter how.
Yeah, but that's the debate.
How you view trans women, or whether or not you are. Wait, hold on, just really quickly. Because a lot of people, for some reason, the conversation is always rooted in subjectivity when it comes to trans women. But objectively, outside of the opinions and perspectives of people, the objective truth is that trans women are women. So when you say women in general, even the statistics of women, trans women fall in the statistics of women. That's an objective truth, and that's why I just don't. Of course, when we speak socially, everybody is free to think how they want to think and view things the way that they want to view things. But it's an objective truth, scientific truth.
Okay,
and just
let me
a fact that trans women are women.
Let me cook this up right quick. So, objective, by definition, not influenced by personal feelings, opinions, are considered representative facts, right? Meaning anecdotal. So, objectively, if you say scientifically, biologically, that's not the case. Trans women wouldn't be considered. And that's the whole debate here, is because where most people say objectively, majority, somebody who's biological, even if you do have some people who will acknowledge it, objectively, I'm pretty sure, hypothetically, if there could be a census that was taken to say objectively, somebody who is born a male, you will not consider them females. That would be objective. And that would be unanimous. So when somebody says, well, those people are considered women, no, that's not objective. That would be subjective, because if I say, well, I can tell that's a man, right? And she says, no, well, I identify as woman. Well, most people thought you were a man because, you have very broad shoulders and long hair. I didn't know you identify as a female. So that, objectively, everybody in the room, I guess based on social contracts, would probably think that's a man. That would be objective. But no, it's subjective, because no, I don't do that. In this case, I don't identify as a man, right?
No, that's not how that would work.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it would
that
be an
is,
objective.
but that is because
No,
most
so it would be an
people,
objective
most
fact
people wouldn't.
that everyone that really thought that woman was a man.
Yeah, but see, that's the exact problem. But that's the exact problem here, and that's the discrimination, and that's what that's where we can acknowledge. That's where the problem comes in.
No.
Because I think
Persia,
something
I
very,
have a
I
quick
think
question.
something needs to be like.
Persia, I have a quick question. So
Can
you
I
obviously
wait,
you're
before you go,
pro-trans
can I
and everything.
Persia,
Do you believe
Okay.
Persia? Do you believe in transracial?
Okay,
Same
so,
concept. Same concept.
Spicy was you
If
can't
anything,
say,
if anything, transracial.
okay, daughter, shut up. You gotta shut your mouth for me to answer your question. Okay. So one, not gonna answer your question because Spicy was talking. You talked over her. Spicy, you may now talk.
I just want to say like one because there are things that need to be identified and
that's what I'm talking about.
Specifically, especially within talking about gender identity, not gender, but within talking about gender identity, the differentiation of gender identity and gender itself, because they're two different ideas. Gender identity within people specifically, not even just trans people, but people in general can be tied back to scientific or biological attributes of people. Their gender identity, you expressing who you are, your gender identity itself comes from a specific part of your brain that develops over time. And that specifically right there affirms that trans women, just like cis women, just like cis men, are men and women.
All right, so but look, hold on. I want to because she just made my point exactly. Like you said, without a brain scan, it is a feeling, right? Like when can you acknowledge that most people, trans people who are, obviously they're born a certain gender, right? But can you or sex, whatever you want to say, they say if somebody's born male and they say, well, I feel I'm in the wrong body. It's a feeling. We can acknowledge that. It's a feeling first, because if you don't have a brain scan, and not everybody, let's be real, is getting a brain scan. So it comes from feelings. It is your feeling. It is not something that is subjective by definition, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions. So by definition, it is your feeling. It is something that you're feeling. That is definition of objective. So if you did facts and data, the only facts and data you can do from that is your chromosomes, right? Now, I understand that there are some people, very rare, probably less than 1% of society, that have some type of mixed chromosomes. But if we're talking about the general, that is something what you're talking about is not objective. So by definition, but you just said, but you can acknowledge that is feeling. Am I wrong in what I'm saying?
Yes, you are.
By definition, how is that not objective?
Okay, so there's
no. Let her speak, and then I'll hold on. Let her speak.
When you say that the way that a person feels, because if that is literally specifically coming from their gender identity, with your gender identity comes from a specific part in your brain, that you're saying that because they feel it and you can't tell because you can't see their brain, that is subjective. When if you do the research,
okay, listen to what I'm saying. Okay,
gender identity,
you're missing what I'm saying. Hold on. I get what you're saying
because they want to be right.
Listen, but exactly. But this. Listen to what I'm saying. You just said a part of the brain, right? But if you don't have a brain scan, how is that ever acknowledged? How is it acknowledged?
Okay, so
no. Hold on. Stop. I want Spicy to answer the question. If without a brain scan, how does one, before they decide to transition from inception, right? How is that acknowledged? Through what? Through your feelings, no? Hello? Well, I'll take that as conceding to the point. This is my point. It starts with a feeling. By definition, objective, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions.
Okay, so I have a question.
So with
for you,
that
though.
being, hold on, let me finish. With that being said, you can't say that people that feel like they are women, when you say we're including and calling everyone women, they're not going to be calling them women. And that's why people in society, you get this pushback. So if I say that, okay, objectively, people won't consider you, especially if you don't look like one, right? And I say I still give you that respect of calling you a woman, right? And even though it's a subjective term, because if you can say, well, I'm not a biological one, that's something subjective because that's outside of the norm and it doesn't go with your chromosomes, right? So if I say that, then, and I'm still giving you that respect, why is it so hard to give that person that respect and say, don't call me this and don't call me that?
Are being by your gender. It's not
no, wait. I asked you a question. No. Stop. You don't get to speak now because I asked you a question and you didn't answer it. Spicy, I'm being extremely fair. I asked you a question and you didn't answer it.
I didn't hear the question. It went in and out.
So I gave you ample time to speak. I said if outside of brain scans, hold on, outside of brain scans. Oh my God. How do you before someone transitions, how do you acknowledge that you are in the wrong body, or if you're in the wrong body? How would that concur? How would that happen?
Well, typically a trans person would have to go to therapy in order to actually be diagnosed.
Outside of that, I'm talking before that, even before that, at the very beginning.
Outside of that, the person would be able to identify whether or not they resonate with specific gender pronouns, with specific gender roles within society. If they resonate with those gender roles or those pronouns, then they're not trans. If they do,
okay. What resonating with something is what? When you resonate with something, you have to what? Spice, answer my question. When you resonate with something, you have to what? You have to. You can't.
I'm trying to get to the point that I was making.
No, but no answer. I want you to answer. Hold on. I want you to answer my question.
Gender identity is not. Your gender identity is not influenced by your feelings. Your feelings are influenced.
All right. So this is the problem. All right. Who remembers earlier when what was the other transgender that came on earlier when she said, when I was younger, I always felt as if I was a boy. I always felt if I was this. I always felt if I was that. That was somebody who was transgender that came on earlier and said that they always felt, and it's dealing with feelings. Because you feel as if you're in the wrong body, and it's a feeling. It is a feeling. So with that being said, by definition, when you say objective, it is not influenced by personal feelings. So when you're talking about on a broad scale, calling in the room, calling people women, right? It not how you feel. So who would you have to determine? The data, or the only factual data is your chromosomes. So if your chromosomes don't match that, it's no longer objective. Hold on. Let Spicy finish talking. What were you saying now?
I'm gonna say it again because I guess you didn't listen to me when I said it. Your gender identity, because that's what is going to determine whether you are a woman or a man. Your gender identity is not influenced by the way that you feel. Your feelings and the way that you feel, whether or not you believe that you are a woman, is going to be influenced by your gender identity. It's not the other way around. So when you say feelings, when you say it's not influenced by feelings, your feelings are not influencing your gender identity. Your identity is influencing your feelings.
So wait, time out. So you're saying if somebody feels like they're a man, that's not what makes them want to transition into being one? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is,
Because this, I just want to, before you continue, I just want to, the logic is gone.
I really don't understand how this is very confusing to people. Your brain, because your gender identity comes from your brain. Your brain, and just your brain influences your feelings, period. But your brain influences how you feel when it comes to your gender identity. Your feelings don't influence your brain.
Okay. So, stop, guys. Let's be respectful. I want to be respectful. I want this to be a fair space. Before someone would get a brain scan, right? Before you would go get that brain scan, you first have to feel. Do you not? Do you not have to feel as if you were?
Honestly, I don't want to keep going in circles.
Say that again.
Because once again, because what you're saying is that your feelings are influencing what your brain is specifically sending signals to you. Like your brain is specifically sending signals to you in order for you to have emotions. So your feelings are specifically coming from your brain. It's not the other way around. When you say the definition of objectivity,
ma'am,
is not being influenced by
ma'am.
Your feelings
Can we ask
are
them
not,
question?
Ma'am, that's how feelings work. Where do you understand that when you talk about emotions, when you talk about serotonin, when you talk about, well, 90% of it is produced in your gut, but a lot of these come from your brain. That's what feelings are.
What made you want the brain scan in the first place?
What brain scan? What?
Look, let me ask Spicy Wife and then Persia, because this is my main. I don't have an issue with the community outside of the fact when I say I don't want to be called a cis woman, just call me a woman. And I get the pushback, and it's like, well, no, that's what you are. It's in the dictionary, blah, blah, blah. But if Spicy Weiss wants to be called a woman, I can call her a woman. But if I don't want to be called a cis woman and just a woman, I get a no. Why is that?
Right.
No one's.
Hold on. Let Spice answer the question. Let her answer the question because she's a transgender here. I want her to answer the question.
Well, I don't like explain that, but like I don't really think that, but I've never had contact with trans women.
Spice, you're breaking up a lot. You're breaking up a lot. We can't hear you.
I've never met,
Can somebody mute their mic? Somebody has loud music in the background. Spice, can you speak?
What I was saying was,
okay.
I don't think that there is any problem with anybody not wanting to be called cis or trans. There's nothing wrong with it. But however, because the mass majority of people will not respect a trans woman who just wants to be called a woman, those trans women are in turn not going to respect you if you say you don't want to be called a cis woman.
Now, does that make sense logically, though?
It does. If you're not going to respect somebody else,
but look,
they're not going to respect you.
Okay, so you wouldn't respect the person that's actually respecting you, because Taj just said that she doesn't mind calling you whatever you want to be identified as, but also give her that same respect. So in that logic, is that still logical to not respect?
I don't think there's a problem with that.
But no,
I said before in the beginning, I don't think that there's a problem.
Okay, cool. But I'm asking you for the logic of those people. Are you acknowledging that is that illogical to not respect the people that is respecting you?
But what I specifically said was, I've never met a trans woman who disrespects people that respects them. I've never met that type of trans woman before. So I can't speak for those women.
Okay, but you can acknowledge that mutual respect should be a thing.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, cool. That's it. That's it. Now, Persia, you can say your piece on it.
So, no, outside of TikTok and outside of trans topics that's been mentioned before in this live, you will never be called a cis woman.
I was Persia.
For no reason.
Shush, please.
All right.
No, don't say
Shush,
That's
please. I'm
disrespectful.
talking.
Hold on.
Right?
Hold on. Let's try to keep it respectful. I want to keep this. We can have a conversation without getting disrespectful. Just let him finish his piece, and then you can speak.
So you never in a day ever, unless some random person comes to you, do this. Will someone come up to you and be like, cis woman? Because one, they won't know if you're a cis person, first of all. So two, that doesn't make sense. For what reason will they have to call you cis in any context outside of a trans conversation?
Bless me.
Okay.
So I can bless you.
But hold on, Todd, hold on. I just want to know. So Persia, do you believe that the respect should be mutual if somebody says, please don't call me cis?
Well, what do you mean? Like, what sense?
So, for example, if we're having a conversation, even if it's online, if I'm saying, well, they are trans, they want to be called a woman, I'll say, well, and I refer to her as she, her, whatever the case may be, whatever pronouns they want. Okay, cool. I respect that, right? And then I say, please don't call me cisgender. Just call me he, or call me by my name, call me KB, call me by my tag name, what I want to be called by. Do you acknowledge that is a mutual respect that should be respected?
Sure, but the only time someone, so this even goes for me, the only time someone will ever use cis or trans in a conversation is when, one, they're talking about trans topics, and the two, they're trying to separate
Persia, all I want to know is that mutual respect, should it be had? That's all I want to know. It's a yes or no.
But the thing is, you're saying yes or no, someone's calling you cisgender every 5 seconds. You're acting like the yes or no, like no answers will ever be yes or no. That doesn't make sense.
Persia, it's a mutual respect. Mutual respect is a yes or no thing.
But not something like
Persia. But this is my problem. Why is there so much pushback? All I'm saying is mutual respect. Do you agree with it? Yes or no? Mutual respect is always a yes or no thing. There's no ifs, ands, buts in between that. If I give you a certain respect, it's a basic laws of reciprocity. If I do that simple thing for you, I expect that same thing in return. Why is that so hard for you to conceptualize?
It's not hard for me to conceptualize.
So why isn't a yes or no?
But also, two,
why is there a but?
It's not a yes or no, because if you're in a conversation with someone, right, someone's a trans person, you guys are having a conversation back and forth, they respect your pronouns, you respect. Shut up.
Oh, all right, hold on, let him finish.
You all respect each other's pronouns equally. That's mutual respect. But if there's 3 people in the conversation, you as trans person, a trans man to be specific, and then someone else, and that person is talking to y'all, and then you have to differentiate your existence as men in society. You're going to have to use trans man or cis man, because it's just a simpler way.
You don't. Okay, but do you not? Hold on. Do you not see the hypocrisy with that?
Mm-hmm.
But so if look, hold on. So no, but it's not something. But it's a hypocrisy, because if you're saying that, okay, call me this, and there's a majority of trans people, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't. It's a majority, and they use cis, and I come into the conversation. I say, hey guys, don't call me that. I just call me by my name, or call me KB. Call me what I want to call me, and you still choose not to. That is a clear hypocrisy, because if you want to be called something, and you say, well, because of the majority here is saying cis, we have to say that. No. Do you not see the flaw in the logic there?
So say someone who passes as a full woman, who like grows up, what's a good famous person that you can't tell is trans? Whatever. Let's say a random woman comes up to you, right? Or comes up to any man, and then they have they sleep together, yada yada, whatever. That man finds out that woman's a trans woman, and then decides to off her, right? And because she didn't want to use the word trans, because she felt like she didn't have to. Like how you guys don't want to use the word cis, right? Does she have to use the word trans?
Yes.
Yeah, she should be open.
That's hypocrisy there.
That's hypocrisy.
Time out. First of all, if your life is in danger, if you know you can be unalive because you decided to lay down with somebody and not identify yourself, it would behoove you. It would be crucial.
That trans woman doesn't have to use trans.
All right. Well, all right. Cool. So look. So look. All right. Time out, guys. Time out. That logic is so flawed, because if you say that person doesn't have to use trans, then basically, so you're saying, well, if they don't have to use it, then they should be okay with the risk that they're taking to be unalived. So if that's the logic, then okay, they don't have to use trans, then it's okay for you to be unalived. Then if that's what you don't want to do, like,
but
what?
That's not what he's saying, though. But that's not what he's saying, and that's we also have to realize, because if we're gonna be able to identify hypocrisy from trans people, we also have to identify hypocrisy from cis people as well.
All right,
because
but you don't even have to, for mutual respect.
No.
How is mutual respect non-logic? But this is my thing. But we're talking about mutual respect. He went on a tangent and talking about somebody sleeping with somebody by not giving them the respect of knowing what they are. And that goes back to the objective thing, right? Because if it was objective, you're an objective woman, somebody wouldn't be subjective when they try to take your life.
So that you're understanding the word objective subjective completely wrong, right? Like, it's an objective fact that the earth is round, but there's still people on this planet that believe it's flat, right? It doesn't negate the fact the earth is objectively round. It just means people.
But you should not be sleeping with somebody without informing them of what you are. Can I talk for a second?
Purely wrong.
Can I talk for a second? To be honest with the
all right, guys, hold on, stop, everybody, stop, hold on, guys, stop. I don't care if you guys speak. Let's just not interrupt. Now, listen, Persia, I'm gonna give you a break because the logic, it's very, very flawed. Right. And I think hold on, let me finish. You basically already said that, yes, mutual respect should be had. You're not even a transgender. The only transgender who on here we have been giving respect, right, and referring to her as she and her, and maybe I don't know if you want to be called trans or not, but the only person who said mutual respect should be had, you're the person that's still having a hard time with mutual respect.
Right.
So that's like,
I'm not having a hard time.
You are, because you can't simply say yes or no, and then you keep bringing up situations where mutual respect shouldn't be had.
He's just saying that there's going to be nuance within that answer.
Okay, even in those nuances of conversation, there is no reason as to why you can't acknowledge. It doesn't matter in any conversation, especially when you are when society as a whole, right, objectively is not, it will consider you to be a certain way, but you want to be called a certain thing, and objectively that's usually not the social norm. And so people say, okay, well, they can concede and say, I'll call you that. And so why in any nuance of any type of conversation being had, you can't acknowledge and give someone else that same respect to not call them cisgender or call them what they want to be called?
That's not really what Persia was saying. What Persia was more so saying was that in conversations, whether or not you respect somebody, if there was a third party coming into the conversation and wanted to know who was trans and who was cis, and nobody was able to identify themselves to that person, then how would the conversation be had?
Okay, well, but that goes to show you that that's a problem, and that's the whole point of this discussion, right? That's the whole point of why we're having this discussion, because if you're coming with these new terminologies, right, and even if you say, well, hey, who's cisgender, who's transgender, and then you say, well, I don't even know what that is. Let's say if somebody says, I don't even know what that is, but and you explain what a cisgender is, they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand what it is now, but please don't refer to me as that any longer in this conversation. So once that discord has happened and you acknowledge that, okay, I know what that is now, but still don't call me that, why is that now an impossible conversation to have?
I mean, no, I don't think that Persia was saying it's an impossible conversation at all. He's just mentioning that there is going to be nuance within the conversation of that
okay
word coming up.
But that's what I
whether or
mean.
not it does.
But that's what I mean. Even in the nuances, if once it's established what people want to be called and identified, that should be it. And what I'm saying is, it's almost like he has a hard time with saying that mutual respect should be a thing, and that's the problem, because it's like you simply said, okay, yeah, I believe mutual respect should have been a thing, and you're basically what this conversation is surrounded by, and he has a hard time with. That's my problem.
Right.
There's still this pushback for no apparent reason. Say that again.
It was misinterpreted. It was misinterpreted very much so, because I understood exactly what he was saying. I agree with what he's saying, because mutual respect. Yes, I think we all up on the panel agree that mutual respect should be had. However, when it comes to identifying somebody, when it comes to like a third party asking questions, and somebody asks you, okay, are you the cis person on the panel within the conversation? Are you the trans person on the panel within the conversation? And you say yes, but please don't refer to me as a cis person, or please do not refer to me as cis. That's nuance within the question of yes or no. Should respect be had mutually?
Yeah, but that's simple. You just acknowledged my point. So if you acknowledge my point, that's all I'm saying.
But that's what Persia was saying, though.
That's not what he was. I feel like he was saying something else. It's like nobody ever disagreed with that point, but it's still trying to argue something, because the sole purpose of this whole live was mutual respect. Then he goes on to bring up something else, as if that mutual respect can't be had in those little nuances of the conversation. You understand what I'm saying? But it still can be had. But that would exactly. So if that was the case,
lighten up the mood here a little bit. If I'm
hold on.
300 pounds, if I'm a 300
hold on. But all I'm saying is, if it can be had, then why the buts? Because usually when you say but, there's a disagreement coming, and everything you said previously goes out the window. You understand what I'm saying? But that's the problem. That's usually what it means. But hold on, guys. Let
more semantics, though.
Oh my God! All right, I'm good. Let Yvette, I think that's her name. Let her speak, and then I'll let you guys have a conversation amongst yourselves for a little bit.
I just want to lighten the mood in here. If I am a 300-pound woman and I identify as a 125-pound woman, am I trans slender? Just a joke. I think it's funny. Y'all need to
laugh. Oh my God! Wow.
Oh my God! I hope that wasn't disrespectful. I think it's hilarious. But anyway,
I don't think it was. I had a question, and I hope it's not disrespectful either. But I feel like with the transgender, I mean, we can all acknowledge we're born a certain way, whether we agree with that or whether we choose to transition or stay the way that we were originally born. So I feel like if you can change your gender or your sex, then, I mean, why can't I say that I'm Black? And clearly I'm not. I mean, it's just a matter of melanin. Okay. I don't have to cut off body parts. I don't have to take hormones. I can just say, well, I identify as this. I identify, as a Black woman. And if you call me a white woman, then you're being disrespectful. I feel like it's kind of along I guess the same logic. You know what I mean? I mean, call me out if I'm wrong, but I feel like you change your whole biology. I feel like ethnicity and
how would you know when you're white?
Am I Black? Yes. Am I Black? Am I Black? I bet you.
In society, no, you're not Black.
Are you Black?
In society, you're not Black.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God. So the literal definition of race is the concept used to describe a group of people.
Guys, one at a time. We have to.
Facial features.
All right, Persia. Let somebody else speak.
If you want to go off what we look like.
Guys, I'm gonna mute everyone's mic if we can't speak one at a time, please. We are all adults. I'm pretty sure everyone on here is an adult. Let's conduct ourselves like adult. Now, please, one person. I don't want to have to like delegate for people to speak. We can't have a clear conversation if everyone's speaking at the same time. I don't want to have to do that. So, Spicy, you speak and then go from there, guys.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, my friend is in the box. She's a trans woman. She asked if she could come up. But I just wanted to say, when it comes to like race and being transracial, there's no part about your ancestry or a person's ancestry or their DNA what makes up their race. What makes them look the way that they do that they can change. Like, you cannot change who your parents are. You can't change what DNA they gave you. You can't change what features they gave you. Like, you can't do that. That's not something that you can change. You can't change your DNA. Like, that's not something that you can do. Unfortunately, and then also when it comes to being perceived as something, if you have a white biracial child, and I'm speaking as a multiracial person, if you have a biracial child, whether or not they have a Black parent, an Asian parent, and then they have a white parent, if they look more phenotypically white, and phenotypically meaning the features that you accumulated from that specific ethnic group, if you look more phenotypically white, you're gonna be perceived as a white person in society. Like, daughter, I don't know if you're mixed, I don't know what you are, but what I see is a white woman. You look like a white woman. I'm pretty sure you are going to be treated as a white woman in the United States of America. And that's like that. And like, unfortunately, there's nothing else that could be said about that.
Well, so in my eyes, so it's because you see me as a white woman, my whole point is, even though you see me as a white woman, if I asked you to address me as a Black woman, would you do that?
No.
That's how I feel. You feel me? Like, so just because
it's not the same.
Hold on, let her finish. Respect.
and I address you as a man, that's disrespectful, right? But if even though you see me as a white woman, if you don't address me as a Black woman the way I want to be addressed, that's not disrespectful. That's hypocrisy. Because
it's not really hypocrisy because it's not the
but
same
if you look
concept.
anything like a man and I call you a man, it's gonna be all hell for me.
But once again, it's not the same concept.
It is the same concept because you're going off what I look like.
When we talk about trans women and transracial,
that's how race works.
And even if I'm not that, you still gonna.
Why is she so high?
Stop. Let her finish. Hold on. Just one at a time.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
You need to calm down. It's not that
serious.
serious.
Hold on. One at a time.
Don't leave. So what I was saying was it's specifically not the same because with trans people, trans women and trans men have the ability to either stop specific hormones in their development and the way that they develop as people. When you are a person who says that you're transracial, you cannot change anything about your DNA makeup. You can't change who your parents are. You can't change what features they gave you. There's nothing about that you can change. You cannot change your phenotype unless you go and get cosmetic surgery. And even then, that's not changing your phenotype.
Hold on, guys, stop. So Spice, the point she's making, just like when somebody looks distinctly like a man, right? And they say, well, you can have all the surgery you want, you can do what you want, but your chromosomes still say, hold on, whoa, stop. Listen, I don't know how you say your name, but we show respect here. So when the rules are, we try to respect other people when they're talking. You don't cut people off. The host, no. Listen. I'm the host. Hold on. All right. You're going to get kicked real fast because I've been having Spice on here for a long time and we have not had a problem with her. And I'm the host. All right, listen. I'm the host, all right? This is my shit. I do what I want, okay? And me and Spice have not had a problem. So, and I've been keeping things pretty fair until now. So unless you can be respectful, you're gonna have to go. But my question to you, Spice, is she's basically saying you can see similarities in somebody who wants to identify as transracial and basically somebody who is transgender, right? There are still things like, say, for a straight man gets with a woman who is transgender and he wants to have children, you could never give him a child, just like, you know, some of the comparisons she made with transracial. I don't think that's something she actually wants or is, or I'm not sure, but the point is she's just trying to point out the examples. Can you acknowledge the examples and the similarities in both? That's all we want to know.
The reason that the comparison doesn't make sense is that when you say that a trans person can't change their chromosomes, and that means that they're not, your chromosomes do not make you a man or a woman. Chromosomally, like even with cis people, your chromosomes are not what make you a man or a woman. Your chromosomes don't even make up what your genitalia are. And like, and I just want to just preference this: the majority of people within society do not know if they're intersex or not. We don't know how many intersex people exist because the majority of people don't get their chromosomes tested. That's an objective truth. That's literally a fact. We don't know how many intersex people there are, and I don't mean just intersex being like, oh, you have both genitalia, because that's only one makeup of what an intersex person is. So when we say that your chromosomes are what make you a man or a woman, and then we leave out the literally 6 biological components of what make you male or female specifically, because there are 6 biological components that literally would identify you with either male or female scientifically. And trans women identify within those 6 biological components, same as cis women. They don't have to identify with all of them, but they have at least have to identify with one. Same with cis women. They don't have to identify with all of them, just have to identify with one. When you say a transracial person,
Spicy, 30 seconds.
And you literally cannot change anything about your DNA. You can't change anything about your DNA makeup as a quote unquote transracial person. It's not the same.
Okay, so look, you said that, you know, somebody who was born a certain race, they can never change their skin color. They can never change that, correct? You did say that, right?
And I said they can't change their DNA makeup.
Okay, cool. And skin color would fall into that. Would you agree to that? No, yes or no?
I mean, physically, sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if somebody says, well, you get with a hetero, do you like heterosexual men or do you like women? I don't know what your preference is.
I'm fluid.
I'm not sure what that means.
Fluid, I like all people.
Okay, so if somebody says, well, a trans woman could never give a heterosexual man a baby, and that will never change. Is that not something that falls along those same lines? Is that not something that is a similarity?
It's really, no, it's not.
Wow.
A similarity.
Wow. Okay. I'll let you guys. You know,
like
this
but
this is the problem. Hold on.
Literally is able to change their skin tone. You're able to change your skin tone as a person. You're physically able to do that. A trans woman is not really physically able at the moment to carry a child if she wanted to.
But did you just not acknowledge? But you just acknowledged that they could never change their DNA, and just like a part of your DNA wouldn't allow you to do the things that somebody is biologically born in which you identify as. That's the whole point.
You don't have a uterus, period.
Hold on, guys, let her finish. Spice, say what you were saying.
It still doesn't make sense. One, because like I said, one of these, we're comparing something that a person can physically do to something that a person physically cannot do. How are these two comparable?
So tell me how tell me how, like, for example, Daughter of Light, tell me how she could make her skin complexion my complexion. Because you said they can change your skin complexion.
So there are specific injections. Actually, there's a woman. I think she's a Russian woman. Specifically, she identifies as transracial. She takes what is it? I think they're called like melanin injections, and they physically change the color of her skin. She doesn't tan. She specifically takes injections that changes the color of her skin. You're able to do something like that. You're also able to tan.
Okay. So Spicy, I don't know if she went away. Did you break out for a second?
I'm here.
Okay. So tell me how somebody taking injections would be different from someone that gets boob surgery. Tell me how that will be different from someone who does a full transition. Tell me how that will be different from someone who's taking hormones. How is that different?
We weren't talking about people taking hormones. We were specifically saying that trans women aren't able to receive children, and you were comparing that to like transracial people being able to change their skin.
Okay, but the reason I said that was because you weren't getting my analogy. So I have to speak on something that maybe you understand, because I think that not having children is a clear comparison for things that you will never be able to do. But you just said somebody that is transracial can take injections to identify as something that they are not necessarily born as. So when I say, how is that different? Can you explain to me how is that different from some of the people who are transgender and they transition? Tell me how is that different?
Well, I'm gonna say just how it's not comparable, and it's different because we're comparing two things. We're comparing something that a person can physically do. Once again, like it would be different if we were comparing, let's say, a person being able to change a trans person. I mean, a transracial person being able to change their DNA makeup. Not being able to do that because that's something that they can't do, comparing that to something that a trans woman cannot do, which is having children. But you specifically compared it to something that a person is physically able to do. But
that's my point, right? When you said they can't change their DNA makeup, you can't change your DNA makeup to have a child. And that's almost the same thing. That's where the analogy comes from. And that was my point in saying that. You understand what I'm saying?
That's not what you said, though. That's why it was confusing, because that's not what you said.
Oh, okay. Well, do you get my point now?
I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to just call me. I'm not sure what it is. Call me Keisha. I'll let us know your name and where you're from, and I will let you speak on what you want to say on the topic.
It's Keosha.
All right.
I'm 35. I'm from DC. So basically, the topic, trans people are heterophobic. We're not. It's the fact that when we're talking about chromosomes, it's not on the side. DNA is not on the side. When we're talking about getting pregnant, there are some women who don't have periods or who can't get pregnant. So you're excluding a bunch of women. When it comes to this English language, when we're talking about men and women, it's our oppressors' language. It's not our language. And when we're talking about men and women and the God creating men and women, that's not our culture. That's not our shit. So again, when we're having people like Black people like you host and everybody in the panel, y'all do know that there are more than 400 anti-trans laws. So these discussions are shit. They don't mean shit. Like, it doesn't take away that white folks don't like your Black asses. I don't know what point that y'all are making here when y'all talking about trans people. I don't understand why, when it comes to LGBTQ, y'all always focus on trans people. You're always talking about how we can't have kids, this and the third, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's giving me insecure. It's giving me miserable. It's giving me y'all don't have a life. Why is it every time we turn around, we're always being the talk of the town? Y'all making up these stories. Well, These people make up these stories, and then y'all following behind these people. The same people who don't like our Black asses, y'all are following them. The whole genocide of trans people is in the making. And yet we're here talking about trans people. I have no respect for bigots. I have no respect for trans folks or homophobes. Y'all as Black people need to get it together. And I just want to say that it's
Koisha, 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
It's no disingenuous when we're sitting here having this conversation while it's a whole war going and our Black brothers and sisters are being unalived in the streets. And this is the best y'all can do with y'all lives to talk about trans people.
No, that's not.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm gonna respond to her. Then I will let everyone respond individually to her. Well, first and foremost, you're talking about ancestors. Listen, I have a religion and I have certain beliefs, right? My beliefs have nothing to do with what my ancestors did, right? If I believe I live a certain life, I have a certain purpose in life, right? And if I believe that my certain life will get me a certain place in the afterlife, that's me, right? And there's about 4 billion people with similar beliefs. That's first and foremost. Second, there is no genocidal people. There's no genocide on trans people. According, let me finish. I listen. You're gonna, Koisha, you're gonna get kicked. I let you talk. Now let me talk. I don't want to have to kick you. It's a very simple. All right. Like I said, Spice, I don't know what's good with your friend. She has a issue, but I don't know. She can't have a conversation. Now I'll address what she said. There's not a genocide on trans people. According to statistics, last year only 22, I think it's 28 or 38 people died from hate crimes, which are transgender. That is not considered a genocide. If you look at what Hitler did, where he killed millions of Jews, that is considered a genocide. That is not genocidal by definition, especially when you only make up 1% of the society. That is not genocidal by definition. And the whole point of this conversation was, it wasn't about, being a bigot. It wasn't about discriminating on anybody. The simple conversation was, I don't want to be called transgender. Straight people don't want to be called transgender. Do I now give up my beliefs to cater to yours? Yes, this is a bit, grabby. That's a bit, clickbait. But the point is, no. Now you guys can respond if you wanted to respond to what she had to say.
Okay, I wanted to say that in terms of, she's gonna bring up the ancestors and be pro-Black. If you're gonna be pro-Black, that's just it. Black comes first. As a female, I don't get into the feminism and all that. Oh no, if I'm Black, if I'm pro-Black, Black is first over sexuality, over gender, over everything. And I think that's where, because I can say there are going to be those that don't accept that lifestyle or that process or whatever. There are those that are supportive. I'm open. Look, if you like it, I love it. Do you? Go ahead on. But I look at, here it is, people are asking for pronouns and putting it on applications on the computer, and Black folks are still called everything under the sun, and nobody's asking you for nothing. So, and that happened in a heartbeat, that we got he, she, him, them, they, whoever. So, being Black first, I don't trip on all of that, because I know one thing: if you go to a KKK meeting, you gonna know what you are. It ain't gonna be no no question. He, she, they, them, don't care. They see that Black skin. That's all they need to know.
Okay, so that's the thing as Black people, we got to get beyond. That's the thing that pulls us all together. I don't care because nobody's stopping you from having sex.
All right, 30 seconds, Sheila. 30 seconds. Sheila, 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm done. I just have to put it that way, and I'm still translender.
All right, all right. Anybody else wanted to comment on what Koisha had to say?
I don't. It just was too much.
Okay.
It was just too much. I think what can y'all hear me?
Hold on. Let the other people. I just wanted them to respond. Spice, did you want to respond to? Did you want to respond to anything she had to say?
I personally think that it is a little disrespectful to say that there isn't what it is leading up to a genocide. It's not a genocide yet, but it is leading up to a genocide. If anybody knows like what happens within a genocide, there are usually typically known to be, I think, 12 or 13 steps that happen leading up to a genocide, which is what's happening. The unaliving of trans people, because when we say that like a genocide, you have to unalive quote unquote millions of people. That's not necessarily true. You have to unalive a large portion of a specific community or a specific marginalized community. It's not millions of people. But so when we say that trans people make up less than 1% of the population in the United States of America, and every year there are 20 to 30 trans people being unalived, that is a very large percentage of trans people being unalived from our community. And also there are laws, there are almost 500 laws that are in the motion of being passed against anti-trans laws. There are, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 anti-trans laws that have already been passed. There are children being taken away from their parents because their parents are trying to make sure that their trans children are living comfortably. That like these are these leading up to a genocide. And I think that it's very disrespectful to say that it's not happening, especially with all of the trans people that have to go through the things that they have to go through.
Okay. Well, one, I don't think it's disrespectful to say it's not a genocide. Nobody's not acknowledging that trans people are being unalived. And even I will even go as far to say is I don't think they should be unjustly unalived, right? I think that even if the law of the land said that it is not something permissible for it to happen, I feel like you still shouldn't unalive somebody unless that person was seen doing it in public. And then even still it may not seem right, but I don't believe under the circumstances for which they are just who they are and what they want to be, you should be unalived. Right now, do I agree with it? No. Do I agree with the lifestyle? No. But we're not going to sit here and call it a genocide. It is not genocidal, right? It is not.
But
And
did you listen to what
I heard what you said. Let me finish. Spice, let me finish. I heard what you said. I understand. Listen, you have to let me elaborate. Let me elaborate. I understand what you said. You said that, if you make up 1% of the society and then 20 to maybe 40 people are killed every year, that's considered. Yes, I get what you're saying. It's a portion, but no one in their right mind is still going to call that a genocide. I understand what the steps that you're being taken, which makes me pose another question for you. It's like, well, if everything is going against this, right? And you still choose to live a certain lifestyle, right? If you still choose to live a certain lifestyle, isn't that something that you should reflect on? If lawmakers, if all around the world, it's a problem, the people have a problem with it, lawmakers have a problem with it. Even in America, if you say that America is the most free with everything, because we can all acknowledge if you go to another country, you can't even walk in public trying to profess what you want to be or what you are. And I had people from Uganda, like I said before, the people go inside your homes and pull you out and publicly beat you, right? We have acknowledged that. So even in America, if you said that there's laws that still go against this, don't you think that if you're going against the grain where you have billions of people who share this same belief, that maybe it's something that you should reflect on? Don't you think it's something that it's something maybe you're going against the grain with?
I think again, you didn't listen to what I said, because the steps that are being taken, they are leading up to it. There is not a genocide yet, but the steps that are being taken are leading up to a genocide. That is a fact. That's nothing. We cannot defute that. And disputing that is disrespectful. I think it is very disrespectful. But also, when you say, like, I really don't understand why people choose to compare one country, a country that we don't live in, a country where laws are being placed that we don't live in. We can identify that, yes, it's bad in countries, it's bad in other countries. They have their own issues. They have their own problems that they have to address, that they have to have conversations with each other, that they have to deal with. We are not in Uganda. We are in the United States of America. There are still problems within the United States of America that we as people, as citizens, have to deal with before we can ever even talk about or compare it to other countries. Because while we can say that, yes, we have it better, it's still bad in the United States of America for all marginalized groups of people. So I don't understand why we're comparing it. It makes no sense to compare, because we all have our own struggles. But also, once again, because I don't know how I'm going to stress this. I can't stress this enough.
30 seconds, Spice. 30 seconds.
Leading up to a genocide. It's not a genocide yet, but it's leading up to it.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let me respond to that. Hold on. Like I said, I heard what you were saying. It's not a genocide, and it's leading up to it. What your friend said was it's genocidal. So okay, cool. It's not leading up to it. If I wanted to, there's certain golf clubs that won't accept you if you don't have a certain net worth. If I say, well, hey guys, I'm leading up to being a millionaire. Can you guys let me in and acknowledge me? And they say, well, you're leading up to it, but you're not there yet. So no, we will not let you in. You're talking about something that can be and maybe will be. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I'm not saying that you guys should be unalive. I'm not saying that, right? But it's not a genocide. It is not something that is there yet. We can both agree that you should
acknowledge that it's leading up to it.
but I can't acknowledge that because let me finish. Let me finish. Like I said, that is not something that is being done. I won't. I can't say. I can't say that. Hold on. Let me finish because I let you talk. I can't say that it is something that is going to happen. I can't say that it's something that is happening, right? Because it's not there yet. It is not something that has happened. And the point is that if it's not there, you can't say that. I even acknowledge that you shouldn't just be unaliving people, right? And this is the thing. I make so much perfect sense. And I feel like Spice didn't have a problem until her friend came on and couldn't have a regular conversation without without having her feelings in it. And now she's gone. But I feel like I make perfect sense. I feel like I'm very fair with everybody. But Keyshawn, I'll let you speak. Keyshawn, what's your name? Where you from? And what you want to say on the topic?
Yeah, the whole trans people are heterophobic thing, that doesn't make sense to me. The cisgender thing, I feel like it's kind of like, I feel like straight people like over exaggerate the whole cisgender thing. Like, y'all are trying to make it a problem when it's not really a problem. Like, it's not a slur. It's not something that is derogatory towards y'all or me, because I identify as a cis male, born a male. I still identify as a male. I didn't change anything. But I feel like it's a bit of a stretch when people like get mad about being called cisgender, because it's just like a descriptive term that's the opposite of transgender. So I don't really understand like why people are upset with cisgender that much. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say.
Okay.
It says, does it say that cisgender is a slur?
No, it doesn't say that.
What does the last one say?
Now do I give up my beliefs to cater to yours?
My beliefs to cater to yours. Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if you've been here all night, but the whole point is we know what cisgender is. We understand what the word means. We understand the etymology of the word. It's a simple mutual respect thing, right? And I think we got that down packed. Even if you're having a conversation with somebody in a predominantly trans or LGBT space, somebody says, "Well, hey, who's cisgender, who's not?" Well, hey, listen, that's cool. I understand what it means, but don't call me that. It's a mutual respect thing. And the problem is there's a lot of pushback when people just simply don't want to be called cis. And the problem is some people have a hard time with this. It's just don't call me cis. And it's really that simple. It's a mutual respect thing. And the problem is, why is there pushback? There shouldn't be any pushback for it. If somebody doesn't want to be called something, just give them that simple mutual respect.
And if it wasn't for cisgender, it wouldn't be nobody else.
But
real.
We got two other people that just came on. Snacks, what's your name? Where you from?
You can call me Snacks. I'm from Nashville.
Okay, what would you like to say on the topic? Snacks.
So, just very briefly, do any of you guys know any gay or cis people offline, like actually in real life?
Yes.
Yep. And are they heterophobic, or do they yell at straight people?
Well, let me acknowledge the heterophobic thing. That's really a little clickbaity, right? And really these conversations only happen online, where there's a lot of people who on this panel and even before can acknowledge when you go into these spaces where these conversations are had and led by trans people, some of the rhetoric on it is, if you're not cisgender, you're transphobic, right? And it's just these type of conversations. And then when you go into those spaces and try to have conversations with them and have to try to have some type of discord, they don't respect you. You say, well, hey, please don't call me cisgender. So it's just a play to get people in. Obviously, nobody really thinks that people that are, trans are heterophobic, but the term transphobic gets loosely thrown around. If I don't want to agree with you, if I disagree with your lifestyle, if I say that, okay, well, I can give you respect, but I don't concede to, trans people doing this and doing that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give you human rights. But if you disagree in the slightest bit, if you don't want to be called cisgender, you're now called transphobic. So using that same rhetoric, I decided to put that up.
Okay. So I was just wondering where that was coming from. Again, the way that I feel about a lot of the gender wars that are currently going on online is a lot of it is online echo chamber. If you actually meet trans people or gay people, out in your real world, in the real life, most of them are just trying to, work a job just like everybody else, survive just like everybody else. So a lot of the bullshit that you hear online is exactly that, bullshit. So I do wish spaces like this, and even spaces from trans people that are the opposite topic, would, I guess, for lack of a better word, go a bit more deep instead of
They always kick me off. That should be some bullshit. It is what it is. I'm holla at y'all guys.